right, we're gonna start episode 107. I'm Tim here with Dan and Jeff. Derek is gonna join us,
Uh,
but he just
from
got pulled over, which is hilarious.
So he's going to join us from prison.
Gonna join us
Yeah.
from prison. But his message to us, not only did he take time to message us in our group chat while being pulled over, but he said he didn't like my personality.
Gee, really? Shocker.
Yeah.
Shocker. Shocking.
Yeah. Derek,
Yeah.
that is a good opportunity to maybe make some adjustments
Mm,
to the old personality when
yes.
you got the cop standing there with essentially your at least financial life in his hands for the moment, right?
Right.
So
You know what? Actually, what I assume when he said that, he probably started to give his alpha as F impressions to the cop, and the cop was like, "I don't need to know about that at
yeah,
all. I don't care about Elden Ring."
he
Uh,
probably did. He was like, "Have you not seen my video? It's on our YouTube channel, which now has an actual name on it. Have you not seen this?"
yes. Yeah. YouTube.com/current gen podcast.
You must not
Right.
be one of the 100 subscribers.
That actually
101,
is a
Jeff.
pretty exciting
101.
moment for us. So if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for making sure we get the views on there and liking and subscribing. Appreciate all that a lot.
Yes.
Because now we're actually at the point where we don't have one of those gobbledygook random letters and numbers name in our
Yes.
in our URL. We actually are /current gen podcast, which is pretty
Yes.
exciting.
It's all thanks
Also,
to
love that.
Rollo Wizard. Sorry, I thought it was just Rollo Wizard and his
Rollo Wizard.
and his friends and Renee's friends. So again, I
Yep,
thanked them last
appreciate
time,
you
but
guys.
still thank you guys. Yes.
Yep, appreciate you guys.
Awesome.
And also thank you, Dan, for putting out some extra content. If you haven't seen it, go check out the channel because we've got our first Let's Play up there. Dan and I were talking before the show about, maybe recording a little more gameplay here and there of games where, as we like to say around here, that we're diddling a little bit, especially on PC. If we grab a demo or something, like getting some, 30 to 60-minute gameplay videos would be cool. So we're going to try to start doing that if that's what people want, if that's what they'll watch. Also, don't forget we have our new series called Alpha AF Impressions, which I cannot wait for more of that.
I'm gonna have some later today. So.
Okay, I cannot wait.
Yeah.
Cannot wait for more of that. So anyway, make sure you're checking out that stuff, and we do appreciate it. But all right, well, Derek is going to be joining us as soon as he's out of jail or whatever he's got going on. He will be here.
Yeah.
Kyle's not
If
here
he's
this
not
week.
in Facebook jail, he's in physical jail. Like
Yeah, he's in one of those.
Some
He's
kinda
in one of the other most of the time. So Kyle will be here maybe next week, but he's out this week. So we're just going to jump right in to some stuff. I actually want to start with the state of play of Hogwarts Legacy before we talk about things we're playing and some other stuff. But I wanted to start with that. That feels like, okay, selfishly, that's like the biggest news of the week, the most exciting thing. So I just want to talk about it right away because I think this game is looking really exciting and really fun. So Sony had a state of play, and I think this is pretty unique that they featured a third-party multi-platform game.
Yeah.
But it also makes sense because it is, one of the biggest IPs out there. It's already got a huge audience. It's major developers, from WB.
People like Harry
Avalanche.
Potter? I didn't know they were.
A few
think
people
so.
do.
I
A
think
few
so.
people do. Yep.
Yeah.
I thought it was just me.
It was
You and a
Jeff's
couple.
like,
Yep.
this is my world.
You're
but,
a wizard, Jeff.
But so in that sense, it makes sense. It seems unique to me that Sony would do this. But it was very cool. It was about 15 minutes or so of actual gameplay with the narrator explaining some things. And they had some interviews afterwards that my kids were watching with me, and they all bounced as soon as it was just people talking about it. They were like, oh, we're out. But I watched it with 3 of my kids who are super Harry Potter fanatics. They like to listen to all the audiobooks. They play all the Lego Harry Potter games. They, watch all the movies. And they're very excited for this too. They're already, even today, they were talking again about what kind of character they're going to create and what kind of spells they want to learn and all the different things like that. So it looks very cool. But what did you guys think? I'll start with you, Jeff, because I know you are a big Harry Potter fan. What did you think about this? Did it, I know we already had expectations of, Hogwarts Legacy, this looks cool. But now that we've gotten a real, I would call it a pretty deep dive into what the game's going to be like, what do you think? Is it meeting that hype, exceeding it? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's exceeding it. Honestly, this feels like everything they showed felt like a dream game for Harry Potter fans, and I think I don't know. There wasn't really a whole lot on story aside from what the plot is, but I don't know if there's any choice and consequence at all to anything you're doing, even though it feels like a game that should have that, because you are playing a student who's a 5th year Mukata has to get in some deep crap, and you have to, make some alliances and stuff. So I figured that there would be some type of ground to cover in regards to choice and consequence. But it feels like it's going to be a linear game where you don't really have a say in that type of direction. But aside from that, everything in regards to the gameplay, how quickly you can switch spells, how it looks when you're attacking enemies, like
dude, the enemies like flipping in the air,
Yeah,
just all
it's-
over the place.
it's so cool. Like it's not just like this. I don't really know what else to compare it to, but it's not like a Lego thing where it's
Yeah.
just like, oh, you hit them with a spell and they just like collapse or whatever. It's like, if they float in the air, their body moves around, and then you hit them with like a, like whatever this fire spell is called,
Yeah.
and then they just go up in flames or whatever. It's so cool. I love that type of stuff.
Well, mixing and matching stuff like that is going to be fun because obviously there's all sorts of different spells. So like it's like you're going to be doing like combos of spells like to these enemies, and I'm sure there's going to be defensive spells also.
Yeah.
You can literally be like drinking potions in the middle of combat to like enhance your character and do certain things. So.
And it sounds like none of those spells or potions you'll have without going to class.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some default spells that you'll start out with. Like everybody's going to have like Harry Potter's famous spell that he always uses to stun people.
Spectro the Spectro something? No,
that's for the Dementors.
That's for the Dementors.
The Dementors.
I was wrong. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was just saying it's the spell that Harry Potter uses to stun people. I can't remember what it is, what it's called, but he always shouts it, and to the point where the Death Eaters knew it was him, in the books at least. They figured out who the real Harry Potter was in the final book because he was using his spell that he always freaking uses, and everybody else uses something different. He's always trying to stun people. And they're like, oh, that's the guy right there.
Yeah, that's Potter right there, yeah.
I love that, and I love the open world traversal where it sounds like more locally you can kind of travel on your broom, but I'm sure it's there's a spell on the broom so you can't go outside the walls of Hogwarts. I think they try to do that on all the brooms for kids. Yeah. But you can fly around on Pegasus when you're trying to go off ground, so that's really cool. Like just a magical horsey with wings. It's so amazing.
And
I was very wrong about the developers of this game. I was very wrong. I really thought it was the same guy because it's WB Games, and for some reason I thought Avalanche Software. I thought they're the ones who made the Mordor games, the Shadow of War and Mordor. No, that was Monolith who made those. Yeah, I was wrong on that. And then I thought, okay, they're the ones who did like Just Cause and Rage 2. No, that's Avalanche Studios. This is Avalanche Software. And their history includes games like Cars 3 Driven to Win, Disney Infinity 3.0, Toy Story 3, Bolt, Meet the Robinsons. I mean, they have been Disney. I mean, that's where they started. They were created.
Toy Story 3 is actually a really fun video game. I don't know if you guys have played that.
Bro.
No,
sure. For it.
But I can say that
really
the Disney Infinity games are fun. They're not great, but they are fun.
Yeah.
All that to say, I was very wrong on the pedigree. I was very wrong on the pedigree. For some reason in my mind, this is like the Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor guys, and I'm like, I cannot wait. I still can't wait.
Mad Max.
I still echo everything that Jeff just said. I think there's lots to be excited about, but the developer pedigree is not what I thought it was.
Yeah.
Which doesn't necessarily mean anything. Every studio, like if you would have told me that the guys who made the Killzone games are going to make an open world action RPG, I would have been like, oh goody, I can't wait. Like I wouldn't have cared.
Right.
And now the Horizon games are some of my favorites ever. So that's okay. But I don't know if that makes sense. There's a little bit of that disappointment there where I'm kind of like, oh, I thought maybe there would be the guys who created the Nemesis system. You know what I mean? But it's not.
Benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, benefit of the doubt for sure. But I wanted to clarify that because I don't remember if on the show I've said that, but I've definitely said that in our Facebook group and in our chat. Been like, yeah, this is the guys who made. No, it's not the guys who made that at all. I mean, there might be some employee crossover by chance, but it's not the same studio.
Yeah.
So anyway. But I mean, I agree with everything you just said, Jeff. I think it looks amazing. The visuals look really cool. I do think I'm with you on it looks kind of linear. Like this is the story that your character, whoever you create, is going to go on. Here are the villains. Here's what you're trying to do or stop them from doing. Here are the friendships you create. That's what it seems like. Although it might not be that direct. There might be some room for some ebb and flow, but it does not have the vibe to me of you could go like Fable style, totally dark or totally light. It doesn't look like that to me, but
it does have like a bully vibe to it because speaking of
speaking of bully,
when you said bully, Derek appeared.
Did the cop bully you into? He didn't bully you into prison? No, you're good.
I'm good.
Okay.
My alphaness took care of that cough.
Oh, okay.
You have it. You have a ticket. You totally have a ticket.
Yeah, it has that bully vibe, right? Of going to school and like going to classes and doing extra specific things, or you can you can roam the sort of the outside of the school. They didn't show Quidditch, but I mean it's gonna have Quidditch, right?
Well,
it has to.
You're riding on the broom. The broom riding actually looked like some pretty cool controls and stuff.
Yeah, they're obviously saving that because that's like a big aspect for
sure.
Yeah,
and maybe that's why maybe they didn't cover everything. Maybe they didn't cover the choice. Consequence aspect that could be in the story because it feels like too big of a game to not have that. That's just my. I mean, that's based on what we saw.
But to be fair, Horizon doesn't really have good or bad choice. You have a story you're following.
You have like 3 or 4 key choices you have to.
You have decisions. Maybe they'll have a similar thing here where there's some choices, but it's a pretty narrow story overall.
It's true. Yeah, that's a good point. Horizon handles that well, so they could
either way.
Hogwarts too.
There's definitely freedom and choice as far as like again with the classes and making potions, and you have that little room where you have all sort of you keep upgrading the room with like all new sort of
the room of requirement. Room of requirement. So that's actually interesting too. Is they do have a skill tree, so there are light RPG elements. Regardless of there not being dialogue, whatever choices, there are, much like Horizon, there's skill tree and Arkham, whatever the Arkham games is like, just like any of those, basically.
Yeah. It didn't look like one of those because the kids were asking me, like, can you choose what classes to specialize in and like upgrade your skills there? That's a cool concept. I didn't get that vibe. It looked like more like you have to attend these classes and hear the mini games that you do in those classes, and then you unlock a new potion or a new skill. But I don't think it's one of those things where your specialties that you choose decide what classes you're in. I don't think it's that complex of a system. Like I could be wrong.
It could be there could be so much stuff they didn't cover yet.
And they're going to introduce a lot of very new but looks like very unique characters. Even like the one, for example, the one potions guy, the professor, had like a limp. He had like a limp as he was limping across, and I was like, there's going to be something there too. Like they are using some pretty interesting, very quirky character elements to make sure that everyone feels unique, which I like that stuff.
Everything, all the characters are completely new, with the exception of the ghosts on the grounds, like
nearly headless Nick.
Yeah, nearly headless Nick and all that stuff. Like those all look okay. Like I mean, yes, those are familiar, but everybody else is just not born yet. So I mean, sure, there's probably going to be some links to the main story eventually, but it sounds like everybody is. Totally a new character.
There was nothing about anything that I saw with this, with the gameplay and just what they were showing that didn't feel Harry Potter to me. It like just reeked of Harry Potter vibes, and they clearly are passionate about the IP, and they seem like they know what they're doing.
It's
so
1800s is where it's set, right? Or when it's set, right?
I think so.
So my kids were like, "Does that mean Dumbledore will be a little kid?" And I was like, "I know he's old, but I don't think he's that old." I could be wrong. I don't know.
Because it's just be a baby. It's like World War I/II when he's hot Jude Law or whatever.
Okay, hot Jude Law. Yeah.
So I don't know about that.
Is there any other kind of Jude Law? Am I right, guys? I think that's the only kind.
There isn't. A very distinguished gentleman.
Actually, that's not true. Have you seen that Tom Hanks gangster movie where he plays the creepy assassin?
No.
Yes, Road to Perdition.
He's a creepy assassin in that?
Yes. Yeah, he plays like and he is ugly. Like they gave him some prosthetics for his teeth, and he's like, I don't know. They just make it look.
I saw that a long time ago because I worked at Blockbuster when that came out on DVD. So I saw it a long time ago, and it still sticks with me. Certain scenes still stick with me. It's a really good movie.
The final scene is so well done when the kid goes out to the beach.
That's what I remember. Yeah,
really, really good. And Daniel Craig plays a real skeevy character in that. That's before he became James Bond.
I think the son is Nicholas. No, that's not Nicholas Hoult. Nicholas Hoult is from About a Boy when he's that age. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No, maybe is it the Percy Jackson kid? I don't know. Anyway,
Percy Jackson.
You might be right. I think it might be the Percy Jackson kid.
It's someone with that kind of a look, right?
Oh, Tyler Hoechlin. It's the guy who plays new Superman and the crappy CW shows.
Oh, that's why. That's why I don't recognize him. All right. So anyway, Derek, we were talking about how the new Harry Potter game, which in my mind was the Shadow of War and Mordor team, but it's not. That's Monolith. I was way off in my memory there. It's the people who made Disney Infinity games and many other Disney games in the past. So it's that team. So anyway, that one looks pretty promising. I thought that was a pretty decent state of play. If you haven't watched it, go give it a look, especially if you like Harry Potter. Listen, we're going to get to more negative news. with Sony later when we go through some headlines. But that was the main positive, was that they partnered up with WB to present that. We'll come back.
It's all
to Sony
downhill from
later. I just want to touch real quick on the ID at Xbox showcase and just highlight some of those, any of those that jumped out at you guys. So you see the list there in the notes. I won't read through all of them. Does anything jump out at you? For me, it's still Trek to Yomi is the game I can't wait for out of all these.
I didn't get around to watching this, unfortunately, actually.
Okay.
I would just look for the trailers are like 1 minute long. I wouldn't watch the whole 3-hour thing, but like I watched the trailers that looked appealing to me on IGN. Okay. And the one for Trek to Yomi was like a minute or something long, and then
so good. And then it's like side-scrolling Ghost of Tsushima. It looks so good.
It looks so good. And then like some channels, like Easy Allies and stuff, did get hands-on, so there are longer previews of the game and people talking about how good it feels to slice people up. I can't wait.
I'll highlight a couple of them. Lost Eidolons looks a lot like Fire Emblem, but kind of more of a medieval fantasy setting as opposed to.
What's it called?
Whatever. It's called Lost Eidolons.
I think it's pronounced Eidolons, actually, Tim.
I actually have no idea.
Eidolons. The only reason I know that is because I'm pretty sure that's what they call summons in 9. So I think it's Eidolons.
That's right. It is spelled that same way. Yeah, good call. Yeah.
I think it's pronounced Lost.
It's got a Fire Emblem. It's got a Fire Emblem.
Or that.
Lost. I don't care.
Yep.
I thought that WrestleQuest looked hilarious.
Yeah,
amazing.
That's on my radar big time. Yeah.
So I
love RPG, right?
I loved Golf Story. This looks a lot like that type of art style and that type of humor and silliness, but also it's like a turn-based RPG game where you're wrestling, but it uses real wrestlers like Macho Man and a bunch of other like classic legends, Andre the Giant and others, and it's telling this RPG story. It's called WrestleQuest. It looks silly and fun and creative, and that one's on my radar for sure.
I like it.
I thought that Void Train looked cool. It has honestly, it had a little bit of a Sea of Thieves vibe to it, not only because it was first person, but they're including a lot of online cooperative play. And the idea is that you not only can you do first person shooter type combat, but you also do train combat instead of ship combat. You're like out in the middle of this. It's kind of like you're in space. You're in this void where the trains are going all different directions, horizontal, vertical, whatever, and you're battling with all kinds of grapple shots and stuff like that. It looks really weird and interesting, and you also upgrade and build out your train. So very creative, I guess you could say, for that one. That's pretty much it. I mean, there's a few others. Go check it out if you like kind of unique, especially indie style games. There's a few others on there that might be worth your time. All right.
I think Chinatown. Did you already mention Chinatown Detective Agency?
I didn't. Yeah,
could be interesting. It is point and click though, so that's the only downside for me. I don't tend to play those games. And Curse. Did you mention Curse to Golf? I'm really bad at actively listening today. Okay, Curse to Golf.
You're still angry
cool.
at Dr. Dre. That's why.
I am. Dr. Dre, your damn headphones, man. They work for a day. Curse to Golf is that side-scrolling golf game. It's got some RPG and fantasy elements, and that's just silly enough that it might work.
Yeah. Yeah, Curse to Golf could be a lot of fun. It does have it's a side-scrolling golf game.
Yeah.
But the idea is you use your shots not only to complete the courses, but to fight bosses and stuff like that. So that one could be fun. Depends on how it plays. Could be fun. Could be one just to diddle, which, by the way, if you haven't heard this before, that is usually our phrase for when you don't really want to dive in and play a game, but you also want to get a feel for it. You just want to diddle it a little bit.
Diddle
it.
This all sounds
it's one of these
diddling. Yeah.
It's one of these situations.
Yeah.
Like Dying Light 2, where you just do the hands.
Sure. You got to diddle to get the things you need.
That's right. All right. Well, let's we'll come back to headlines at the end. There's a few other things to cover there, but I wanted to get over the state of play and the main things, showcase. Let's jump back up to stuff we're playing, especially now that Derek's here, because I want to hear from him and Dan especially. I am not playing this game at all. I don't think I probably ever will. Listen, I'm not saying that no one should. This is just not a game that I feel like I'll ever want to play.
No one.
You won't even try the demo. I know the demo's like, how long is the demo? It's kind of long.
Here's the thing.
I'm not even gonna diddle it. No diddle.
Honest. Okay. Now that I'm experiencing the game, don't even bother playing the demo, because the demo might just put a certain idea in your head of oh, well, the gameplay's worth playing, and then it's then you play the actual game and you're actually experiencing the whole thing, what's meant to be experienced, and that's actually going to shape your view on what the game actually is. And for me, it's not positive. So
of course, we're talking about, really, it's the latest game to release. It just came out 2 days ago, yesterday.
Yesterday.
And that is Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. I'll throw it over to whoever has played it and wants to talk about it because I've got nothing on this one.
Derek, I know you said you were trying to get a refund on it, right?
Yeah, I got a refund.
Okay. Did you
I
play
bought
enough?
it through Epic Store.
Okay.
I just played what the demo was because the demo is the beginning of the game. So
Yeah,
I
exactly.
started it and I played it and I was like, this can't be right. They have to have 4K. Let me reboot it. And then I go back in. I'm like, no, this can't be right. They have to have 4K. Like, for those who don't know, I bought it on PC thinking I could play it at 4K. I'm thinking that game isn't probably pushing your machine too much. I could at least do 80 to 100 frames per second. No, the highest I could do was 1440p. And apparently, I didn't experience this because I didn't play it enough, but apparently it's having serious issues on PC that even if you have high-end graphics cards like me, the game is like chugging in areas. And I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to get a refund. This is not a game worthy of $60 at this point. Later on, I'm probably going to like it more than Daniel because you and I like things for different reasons.
Well,
It'll
you
go
like
on sale. It'll go on sale later.
And this isn't meant
as
an insult. You like average games more than I do. That's not meant as an insult. You just are more understanding. And I love Final Fantasy more than you guys, so you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I think, and you'll address it when you talk, I think you bought it because mainly it's Final Fantasy and you're wanting good stories, good characters, and a great world and atmosphere to live in. That is not what this game is. This game, from the little bit I've played, is all about combat, jobs. The main reason this game got 7 out of 10s from most reviewers is because of the job system and the combat, and that was it. They hate the levels, they hate the characters. Oh, a lot of them did compliment the way the story comes together. Meaning, the first part of the game is terrible and the characters are terrible, but the latter part, when the story starts to come together and the ending is actually supposed to be pretty good. So I'm definitely going to buy it and play it. I just have to decide when, and I'm going to wait until they do what I want when it comes to the PC.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Isn't this the game where a character in one of the cutscenes walks away, putting on headphones, listening to some kind of like Mudvayne style rock band?
You meet the fourth warrior of light, and she goes on this whole serious spiel about chaos and
she's here to kill chaos.
Yeah, she's not. That's what he was there to do. So he was obviously upset because she's like, I'm not chaos. Chaos isn't real. It's just a story. It's just like a tale that gets told and blah, blah, blah. And he just looks at her and he just goes, bullshit. And he turns around and just puts on freaking like new metal.
I'm sorry, y'all can make fun of that, but that's pretty alpha. Pretty alpha,
dude.
Like Jack is my boy.
Jack is the most alpha Final Fantasy character ever, which isn't a compliment. It's just a fact. I mean,
there might be some listeners or viewers who are like, what do they mean by alpha?
Derek,
this character of Jack in Strangers of Paradise that's what we mean. That's the description of alpha right there.
Have you seen the clip of and I haven't actually gotten to this fight yet, but I watched the clip and it's amazing. There's a villain that they come across, the Lich, and it's talking to them and it's like saying some words or whatever, and he's about to say my name is Lich, and Jack just jumps up in the air and he's like, I don't give a fuck what your name is, and he just like goes to like punch him in the face, but he actually says that. That's what he says in all of his Jackness, like. That's what his character.
Yeah,
is it a comedy? Because if it's a comedy, that might work. So is it a comedy?
All right. So this is what's funny, because I look on Twitter and I'm just kind of curious what people are thinking about the game, and that seems to be a lot of like the defense of the game as far as like the story and the way that the game is presented, character wise, story wise, the world. Like, oh, it's supposed to be campy and funny, and it's like, is it though? Is it, or is it poorly written, poorly directed, it's just bad.
This is the first ever Mortal Kombat movie, and that is they were making that movie seriously. They were making it seriously.
Although I do love that movie. I do.
Yeah, that's my point. Is that I think they were making it serious, but when people watch, they were like,
But so hold
Are they
on.
really saying this stuff?
But the difference between Mortal Kombat and Final Fantasy is there's some pretty serious and like great, story moments and like things that happen throughout the series of Final Fantasy. Whereas Mortal Kombat has gotten a little bit more serious lately, right?
But not in the mid '90s. It wasn't there. Yeah.
Sure.
And
that movie was very funny too. Deliberately, like the one-liners were very funny on purpose.
Yeah.
But I would say, as a Final Fantasy fan, I think you should play it through. Don't sell it or anything. Play it through and see if the reviewers are true and accurate about the story and how it plays out. I think the combat will be fun. It is still made a lot like if you like Neo, it's not Neo. Let me first state that. But if you like Neo and Neo 2, there are a lot of similarities. The biggest difference is, and this is the game that actually did it. People ask, I want an easy mode for Dark Souls. This game is a Dark Souls style combat game. As far as they punish you when you die, you can lose all your experience, all that stuff. But they have an easy mode, and I know why they have an easy mode, because it's got Final Fantasy slapped on it, and they want people to buy it that are fans of Final Fantasy that are not fans of Dark Souls and all that.
It's interesting that you're mentioning the Souls thing, because I'm like 8 hours into the game. I'm playing I've taken a break from Elden Ring because I'm actually just trying to like get through Horizon, actually play it and enjoy it and finish the story. Like I've played Souls games. This doesn't feel Souls to me. I don't know what the Souls comparison, because there's no experience points. You're not collecting any sort of experience.
It's just the mechanics behind it. It's more Neo than Souls, but Neo took from Souls.
Sure.
There's a lot of loot. There's a lot of loot. The combat's a lot like Neo, and the graphics are, good lord, they're actually worse than Neo. But when I saw it and played like the little bit I played, I was like, this just feels like Neo with Final Fantasy stamped on it, but not as good.
Because like
Neo's way better.
The leveling system is more based off of the equipment. So you're not collecting any sort of souls or currency for leveling up your character. You do get like skill points to sort of add some extra.
That's
like
what I think you lose though. There's something you can lose, I'm pretty sure.
Well, it's so basically when Jack does his sort of like I forget what the actual word of it is, but sort of the counter move where you see in the trailers how he crystallizes the enemy. So basically you stagger the enemy, like the meter builds down, and then you can hit circle and basically like turn them into crystals and crush them. And that increases your magic meter, your MP meter. And if you die, I think that's when it like goes back down to just a couple of sections. Because every time that you crush one of the enemies when you turn them into crystal, you can increase that bar so you can do more special attacks. So any of the heavier attacks or the sort of R2 attacks, depending on what class you are, depending on what weapon you're using magic in order to use those moves. So I think that's where kind of the give and take there is. If you die, then it's like, oh, well, now the meter's been shrunk back down.
Okay, so it's not a big deal, but it's still there's a little piece of it there.
Yeah, there's some. Yeah, you do have to. You can't just go in guns blazing, so to speak, in certain situations. Some of the smaller, weaker enemies, pretty much. But definitely with like the bosses, I've noticed like you do want to kind of take a step back and like wait for like an opportunity, but it's not. Like the AI or sort of like with the thing with the souls from software, which you have to praise, is like how Tim and we were just discussing a second ago, how they're good at like being like, all right, the enemy's going to do this attack. If you're paying attention, you're noticing they're going to do this attack because of a certain thing a tell, you know what I mean? Like something's about to happen, and then you're like, all right, this is when I need to back away or roll or something.
That's why people compare it to like a music or rhythm game sometimes. Yeah. There's a pattern to everything, usually.
I'm not noticing a lot of that with the enemies in this game. Attacks just kind of happen, and it's pretty abrupt a lot of the times. And the lighting is also terrible, so it's hard to see when they're about to do something.
That's Neo and Neo 2. Like Neo 2, I didn't like it and finish it. Like I beat Neo and then played halfway through Neo again. That's how much I liked it. Neo 2, I didn't even get through all of it because it felt like it was just you're hitting enemies like 5,000 times. And their attack patterns were annoying, especially like
you couldn't learn, right? Like you couldn't learn.
I mean, maybe I just sucked at it. I don't know, but I beat Neo, but Neo 2 just to me was just annoying game. And it's not that I didn't try, because Sasan's a big fan of it. So every time he talks about it, I'm like, I need to go back and beat it. And I would go back and start playing it. I'm like, no, I don't like this one. I don't like it as much. But I would say this Final Fantasy game, again, I didn't play it as much as you. You're 8 hours in. I had to, in order to get the refund, I had to make the decision after I played only a little bit. And I was like, I'm just going to request the refund now. I don't think this is worthy of $60.
No, it's not.
Especially with everything going on in my life, I have to make better decisions on which games I'm going to buy, which ones I'm not. So I made the decision, this one's not worthy right now. That being said, I will definitely buy it. I will get it later. I will wait for it to get patched. Or if I buy it on console, it would be because I want to co-op it with somebody.
Yeah.
But
I was going to ask, is there co-op in this?
Okay, there is. Yeah, you can do co-op.
Which Jesse White has it, and if he hadn't have gotten it on Xbox, if he would have gotten it on PS5, I would have bought it and co-opted it with him, because him and I actually co-op. But I can't co-op on Xbox because Eli is literally on it. I don't even know if the kid
asking for that FIFA money.
I don't even think he goes to school. He's just like, yeah, I'm at home playing.
No, okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't like doing the whole like, oh well, is this game worth this amount of money and that's how we're gonna critique. I don't really like doing that, but like, this game is not a $60 game. It's just not. And as far as the combat goes, like the combat is competent, but I think why the combat is being praised or sort of acknowledged as like a high point is because everything else about the game is so shitty that the combat just sticks out as being like, oh well, at least they did something competent here. Like this work, it does work. It's
like the kid who gets a C and everyone cheers because he usually gets D's and F's and everything else.
Right. But like, it's like,
well, do you like Neo games?
I remember playing the first one and really liking it. I just never finished it.
I liked that the first one had a boss named Derek you could kill right at the beginning.
Yeah, that was in the beginning. So to me, if you don't like the Neo games, then no, you're not gonna like this game. And I do agree with Daniel to a certain extent, as far as I do agree that everything else is done pretty terribly.
Well, like let me just be specific though. Like, so like when you go into like a new mission, that usually like loads in like a cutscene, but like the cutscene is either like it's very short, you're not getting a lot of context, or it almost feels like they like had like a 2-minute cutscene, but then they were like, you know what, just shave off like 1 minute and 45 seconds of this and just take a random section and just throw it in there. It's like things just don't quite add up. Like the conversations that they're having are weird and confusing and perplexing. Like I don't know what they mean.
Maybe that's why the second half is better.
Maybe it builds up to being more coherent.
Now is gibberish that later it will come down to something.
I get the pieces that are coming together where like, and I don't know if you guys care about me spoiling at all, any sort of, do you care or?
I will never play this game.
Okay. So, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious, at least to me, and I could be wrong, where the game's going to end up, but I think clearly this is a journey that they've been on before and there's like memory loss elements involved. So, and as you're going through some of these missions, Neon, the fourth warrior, the sort of like skinnier, smaller chick that you find, the one that was telling Jack the serious stuff and he said bullshit. She starts to kind of like drop like little things like, this area is so familiar, like little things like that. So, and that kind of stuff could be interesting. But again, it's so broken up the way that things happen. And again, the cutscenes are just so like, again, you just feel like you're plopped into the middle of a conversation and you're not getting the context of what's going on because it's almost like you missed the first like half of that conversation. And
is there a translation issue at all going on, you think, or?
No, I think it's just honestly the direction and just like the actual writing of the game.
Are you playing this game with English voice actors?
Yeah.
See, I left it with the Japanese and I thought it was awesome.
Well, it probably
okay,
sounds,
James, try hard.
It probably sounds better that way, but I'm just saying like what is being said is just sounds like I'm just saying a couple words to you and then you're like, oh really, that's interesting, and then awkward pause and then just like turn around and start walking.
Do you know why I pulled you over? Why?
Yes.
Because you ran the red light. Bullshit.
And then you crank your Creed up and drive away.
Where you are, world.
Yes.
Yes. It looks like on How Long to Beat, which it does not have this set as something that's final yet, but the How Long to Beat is 18 to 22 hours.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah.
That's
So
not bad
I'm
at all.
I'm almost halfway
nearing
there.
the halfway.
Yeah, I'm nearing the halfway point, and maybe
And
again,
maybe it was just one reviewer, but I remember somebody, I don't remember who it was, maybe it was Game Informer or whatever, but somebody said that the story wraps up nicely.
I mean,
And so
again, it could be similar to how I feel with the combat. The combat seems better than it actually is, because everything else about the game is so unbelievably terrible that the combat just seems like something that's adequate. Like I'm like I started playing it the other day because I got it 72 hours early because I canceled my physical copy to play the game.
Did you do the digital deluxe or did you just do
just regular? And you can
they
still
gave you 72 hours?
Yeah, it still has the 72 hours for regular. Basically, they're trying to. It was their way of being like, "Hey, play digital instead of physical." And I felt guilty because it's like I'm in the middle of an excellent video game called Horizon Forbidden West, and yeah, they're not direct comparisons, but it's like I felt like Horizon's like the beautiful supermodel that I'm dating, and then I go to the corner and pick up a $5 Lady of the Night, and I
hope all our
women
listeners get triggered.
It's just like I feel
ridiculous. I would never disrespect you women like that. Just so
I mean, $5, that's not, you're not getting the prettiest, street lady.
Hey Dan, could you just change it? $5 Gentleman of the Night. Just say it like it is.
Sure,
Yeah.
Gentleman of the Night.
Yeah.
I felt gross because it's like there's these other games that are excellent that I could be playing right now. This is just, and I love Final Fantasy, but this just feels like something that they were like, hey, do like do a Souls type thing, and like here's some kind of crappy budget and like do your best, because the game looks like a glorified PS3 game, like a sharper PS3 game.
Oof.
Like it doesn't look like even a PS4.
How are the cliffs?
Cliffs are not great, Tim.
Not good. Not good
no.
cliffs. Okay.
Well. Dude, the lighting, I'm telling you, the lighting is unbelievably terrible.
Rainy, dark.
Yeah.
Very ugly game.
And like the enemies aren't
That's
colorful.
That's why I bought it on PC, because I was like, it can make it a little less ugly, and then it can play faster and smoother.
Do either of those things, did it?
But no, it's ugly. The lighting is terrible. The enemies don't have if you're gonna make the environments environments like dark, then at least have a way so I can see maybe the enemies are glowy or something, right? To kind of stick out. But like no, the enemies are also dark, so it's like they're just blending into the darkness. And
like the machines do in Horizon, they're glowing blue or red no matter what.
Yeah,
you can see them no matter what time of day.
Like some kind of visual, like, oh well, if you're gonna make it dark on purpose because you're in the inside of like this creepy castle, then make it so. And I messed with the HDR because I thought maybe there was something with my HDR. I turned everything up and I could see a little better, but it's still like, it's just
it's disappointing.
It's a terrible. I'm sorry for. I mean, if people out there enjoying it, it's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. I don't think it's the worst video game in the world, but it's the worst Final Fantasy.
It's gonna be in my top 10. It's gonna be in my top 10.
I don't. It's this should have been like a budget game. It should have been $30 out the gate. That's what it should have been.
You're a little extreme.
No, it should have been a $30.
I will give you $50. You buy it at Walmart for $50.
No, 50. No, absolutely.
I don't know. And when it's
the other part, that's the other part that kind of pissed me off about PC. And yes, this is me being entitled or whatever, but I am used to getting my games discounted on PC. Like I paid $42 for Elden Ring day one. I had it pre-ordered for $42.
Yeah.
I buy every PC game at a 15 to 25% discount for day one. No. This game I had to pay the $60 because it's exclusive to the Epic Store, and clearly whatever they do, they are blocking all these other retailers like CD Keys, Green Man Gaming, all of them. They don't sell a lot of Epic games at a discount. Some of them you can, like I pre-ordered Tiny Tina, that's Epic as well, and that I did get discounted. But this game, I kept looking, I kept waiting, and I couldn't get a discount. And I was like, fine, I'll just pull the trigger.
I feel like Kena Bridge of Spirits might have been on there too, but you're right. In general, most Epic Store games, you're right, they're not on CD Keys.
Yeah, they're probably good at making sure that doesn't happen.
So I paid the full price. Now it worked out to my advantage because I actually bought it from Epic immediately refunded me. Whereas if I would have bought it from CD Keys, I would have been stuck with it. But my point is that I was disappointed that I couldn't even get this game discounted. It's a poor port. It's very, it's just lazy. It's a lazy port. And then overall, even on console, it's lazy. And that's what it feels like. So I understand saying it's not worthy of $60 because if you compare it against most quality games, it is lazy. But I think if I play through it all, I think I'll enjoy it and I'll go, okay, this is worth a $40 to $60.
Obviously, you can't do a direct comparison of, say, like Kena, for example.
Mhm.
But Kena is a beautiful game. It works well. The combat is fluid, and that's a $40 video game. So this game, quality wise, if you're just gonna talk about quality, does not match up with Kena.
And they were able to have characters and dialogue that wasn't like horrific.
Yes. My closing statement is Final Fantasy is a series that's been around for a long time. There are a lot of ups and downs with the series. This is one of those games that makes certain people, like people in our Facebook group, insult this franchise as if, you know, it's just not quality at all ever. Like, it's never been quality. So when they release games like this and they slap Final Fantasy on it, it's going to make all the cynical, you know, people who are trying to come at this with that view feel justified.
Gives them ammo.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, and again, I know it's not a mainline Final Fantasy, but it still has the word Final Fantasy in it. And
it's the same thing when the Ubisoft puts out a game that's like a crappy open world game or whatever, and they're like a classic Ubisoft. And I'm like, they actually do make good games. I hear what you're saying.
Right.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. It's just, it's a franchise that's important to me. So you throw Final Fantasy on it, that means something to me. And again, I'm realistic. I understand there are lows in the series, but there are some pretty high highs and important moments in the series for me. And this is not one of them. It is terrible. Please wait.
Can I ask a question about this game? How can it be an origin of a franchise that has 15 plus different entries in it that are all totally different stories from
it pertains to the original Final Fantasy.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So it's literally,
I was like, which one, guys?
it's literally pertaining to, because like, so that
they're gonna do one for every single one.
Yeah.
The next is Final Fantasy 2 Origin. Can't wait.
The guy that you see, I don't know if you've seen in the trailers, he kind of has like the armor on and like sort of big spikes coming out of his head. That's Garland. Like, that's what Garland's armor is. That he keeps talking about chaos. So this is pertaining. I don't know what this is. I don't know if it's like an alternate reality of the original or like a retelling. Like, I don't actually, because again, I haven't finished it, so maybe by the end of it that'll make more sense. But yeah, it pertains to the original Final Fantasy.
I see. So okay, thank you for making sense of that.
Yeah, but please don't buy it.
I know there's a reason that people title things certain ways, but this is just me. I'm a simpleton when it comes to titles. I'm like, why don't you just call it Final Fantasy Origin or Final Fantasy Straight? Why is Final Fantasy in the subtitle? Like, why is Stranger of Paradise the main title? I don't understand.
You mean like Hobbs and Shaw, a Fast Saga entry series movie or whatever?
That annoys me.
Yeah,
I don't know
stupid. Or I guess it was Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw, but whatever.
Yeah,
I think it started the other way around before that. So
well, you definitely have to have Final Fantasy in the title because that's the selling point.
It should have just been Final Fantasy Origins, or that's what it should have just. They should have just called it that.
Final Fantasy Stranger of Paradise, one or the other. Whatever. I don't understand it, but
it's a tiny thing though. Yeah.
There is another game that just has one word at the title that just came out too, and that's Tunic. This game wins the cutest game of the week award. Because that's exactly what it is. It is adorable.
Final
you can
Fantasy
see it.
Origin?
Not Final Fantasy. Jack is not adorable. Neither is Chaos. But
bullshit.
This little fella is super cute.
I'm just here to kill chaos.
So this is I played the demo for this last summer. I want to say I think Steam had a demo for it. I can't remember when that was.
I know Xbox did too. It might have been after E3 or something.
Yeah. So I remember trying the demo and thinking, oh, this is a cool little like Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past love letter, but you're a fox and. Okay, I get it. I'll play this at some point.
So they like Star Fox and Zelda. Got it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought. I was like, hey, these guys grew up on Nintendo, and they made a game that kind of mismatches those two a little bit. Okay, cool. No, that's not what this is. I mean, yes, in a way, it's Zelda, but this is a Souls game. This is
Yeah.
completely a Souls game. And that's what you learn that the hard way as it literally you wake up on a beach. There's no little like fairy or friendly villager like in Zelda games that comes to you and kind of helps you up, takes you to the village, introduces you to the chief, and they send you on some dumb mission to go find your shield. That's super easy.
Right.
That's not what this is. You start out and you have to just kind of start wandering and try not to die as you get a stick and you start to kill these little blobs, and they're pretty easy to kill with a stick. And you're like, I got this. This is pretty good.
Ooh.
And then it only
You
takes
very quickly do not got this.
it only takes a couple of screens when it's like, oh, things hit pretty hard. I'm gonna die fast, and then you do die fast, and you can't interrupt a lot of attacks. I mean, later you can start to do a better job of that. But
pick up a shield.
Yeah,
eventually, but that's probably much later.
But yeah, it's a rough game, and then if you die, then you'll go back to the last. There's these altars that have these little fire things in front of them, and there's like a statue there, and that's where you can go to upgrade as well. And then you'll just go back to the last one of those, and it's not as punishing as Souls because you don't lose everything. So let's say you've gathered 500 of those little coins. I'm not sure what the percentage is, and I'm not sure if maybe it stacks if you die a lot. I'm not sure how the system works, but I didn't lose all of them. I lost.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Then it's probably like Sekiro.
Yeah.
Is that what Sekiro does? I can't remember.
Sekiro had like this behind the scenes, like almost like RPG calculator that would be like, oh, you only lose 35 of your 300 coins, and then next time you wouldn't lose any, and then the next time you'd lose half. It was random.
Maybe it's
okay.
Maybe for this type of game, it's duration.
Oh, you mean like a RNG, a random number gen? It could be that.
Yeah.
It could be that. But you can go recollect them, right? So if you can make it on that life without dying again, back to that spot, you see your little ghosts of your little character standing there. You just go and interact with that, and then you get all. I think you get all of them back. Again, I didn't.
I have a problem with this game. I feel like the combat's not that great because, like, I try to roll and it's like it doesn't register a lot of times. Like, I'll have two enemies coming at me, and I'll swing once, and then I'm like, roll. And he just stands there. I'm like, are you going to roll? And it happened. I'm not talking one time. It happened multiple times where it was not registering that I wanted to roll. It was just registering that I wanted to stand there and get hit multiple times.
I think the attack is... There's like a gap between the attack and the next action you can do.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you'll be stuck in the attack animation even though you finished it. Even though you finished the actual attack. The animation is still finishing, and then you have to roll.
Yeah, see,
so
I would agree
that's kind of like figuring out what the rhythm is, basically.
Yeah. There could be something with the attack animation there. That could be and I also think the stamina meter is pretty unforgiving, especially at the start. Like you don't have a lot, and an attack, a block with a shield, and a roll all take a huge chunk of your stamina meter just to do one of those things. So
I think you can only do like 3 actions in the beginning.
And then you have to like let it reset. And I've upgraded a couple times. So I can do a little more than that now, but it is, I mean, again, it's unforgiving. That's what I mean by unforgiving. Thankfully, it's not as punishing in terms of if you die, you don't lose everything. But yeah, it also does not hold your hand. So you walk around, you find these little leaflets that are part of like an old school instruction booklet, which I think is really cool looking. Like the art style looks really neat in that.
Mm-hmm. Everything about the art style looks
Have
awesome.
you ran into Foxdon in this game? Is there a boss named Foxdon?
I have not seen Foxdon. No.
What's the reference there?
Radon.
No.
Oh, there's no Foxdon.
Yeah, he comes falling out of the sky.
As soon as I see Foxdon, I'm out. This game is getting uninstalled.
Yeah, meteor strike from
But this is one of those games where they don't tell you where to go. There's not like a little cursor that has a little arrow saying this way next. Like even Elden Ring, when you touch with one of those lost graces, it'll have this little, sometimes some of them will have a little stream of particles that kind of gives you a direction of where you could go next. At least it gives you something. This doesn't tell you any of that. Like you just kind of have to start poking the edges of the map and trying to go across every bridge and underneath every bridge. This game has a ton of secrets, which to me, that's one of the most charming aspects of it, is there's lots and lots of, hey, what if I go behind the statue and just try to walk, and then all of a sudden it turns, like you can keep moving. You thought it was a wall, but you just keep walking, and there's a secret passageway.
That's your Zelda stuff.
That's very Zelda. Like I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Like that's very rewarding. Derek's right. The combat isn't great, especially how limiting the stamina is.
Yeah.
Like I thought for this style of game, Death's Door did a much better job with combat. If you like this style of isometric action adventure RPG, Death's Door has much better combat. But it's not bad combat either. It's just
no, it's not bad.
It's just you have to be really careful. Like
I mean,
Other
I'm
than
not
that-
gonna play it anymore. Maybe a little more, but not anymore. Because if I'm gonna play a game like this, I'm gonna play the game I've invested 100 hours into. I don't have time to start another one that's like this.
Right. I feel like that's kind of a curse for this game is us being, we're being transparent about what the game is to people, and they're like, oh, I'm already kind of doing that in Elden Ring. I don't really have time
Now,
or patience for another one of those.
the patience and the frustration would certainly be taxing, but it is not a long game. From everything I've read, it's in the 15-hour range to get through the whole
Sure,
game.
it's not even like fully priced. So I mean, I get
That's
that.
actually long for this being, to me, a smaller title. I was thinking you were gonna say it's not that long. It's like 5 hours. I'm like,
No, I think it's between 10
isn't
to
Death's
15.
Door?
I think it's between 10
Isn't
to
Death's
15,
Door
depending on how.
shorter?
Yeah, Death's Door. I 100% of that game,
Oh,
and
wow,
I've
really?
spent 12 hours, and so I did all the extra stuff.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think Death's Door in like 6 to 8 hours.
I bet Tunic just depends on
How good you are.
Well, not just that, but like where are you going? Because I mean,
Yeah.
it's so wide open. You can go anywhere. You can stumble into a forest and get owned by spiders. And,
Oh, yeah.
my God, dude, that was terrifying. By the way.
Yeah.
Because
everything
there's
still
these red
looks so
eyes. Oh my
cute.
God, there's black blobs. Oh my God, there's spiders. Like it was like
Yeah.
a wave of realizations, and then you get owned.
Well, so that's the tricky thing, because it's like they're trying to balance like straight up Zelda with like straight up Souls, and they're making it a long game, but it just seems like it's almost like, I mean, you got to find the right balance hours wise if you're gonna kind of punish people with the combat, right? You probably want to make it a little bit shorter. I mean, then again,
Yeah.
Elden Ring could be 100 hours, but that's literally what it is. So
The one thing I like about the Souls games is they do, even if they don't tell you here's how to beat an enemy, what the enemy does can kind of instruct you on how to approach them the next time. There's something about the way From designs their games that they do that, and they don't do it perfectly with every enemy, but they do it really well. From what I've played of this one so far, I'm still in the first main area. I got to the first boss. I've tried him twice, and he has completely demolished me. So I guess I need to explore more and upgrade a bit more because I don't stand a chance. Like Derek was saying with the rolling, even though I've upgraded my stamina meter, I can't dodge enough and then still have stamina left to swing before he attacks again. And so I'm like, all right, maybe I'm supposed to be much stronger. The little booklet told me I'm supposed to be like level 3 in multiple categories, and I'm like 2, and 3. So maybe I'm just not quite ready yet.
I see.
But anyway, all that to say, I think there are elements of this that allow you to kind of go any direction and explore, but there's also a lot that's inaccessible so far. Lots of closed doors, lots of bridges that aren't complete, or some area you can't get to yet. But I do like there's one enemy that has a shield and a long spear, and if you get close to him, he'll swing at you, and you can kind of dodge and try to swing your sword at him, but you do so little damage that I learned that you actually have to hit him with explosive. So you have to throw the explosive and then get close to him so he stabs at you and moves past it, and the shield doesn't block the explosive. There's like a pattern to it that I was like, that felt like a Souls moment. I liked that. So once I got into the pattern of it, I have these little sticks of dynamite. So you stand in front of him, you throw it, and it kind of lands right near his feet, and then you go close so he comes towards you a little bit, and the dynamite blows up right at his back, and it takes like half his health. I was like, there you go. That felt like a cool Souls moment. So I can see how this game could get its hooks in you in that respect. I think there's a lot to like about it. But yeah, don't let the art style mislead you. This is a tough game. This is the kind of game that if you thought Metroid Dread was frustrating and how it kind of let you get stuck and wanted you to figure out your way, if you thought that was frustrating, this is a million times worse, because at least that gave you some glowy areas on your map a little bit, right?
Sure.
That helped
for the most part. Yeah.
There was some
there's no map. Yeah, that's great.
This kind of has a map. It's like a hand-drawn map, and it does show you where you are, but
that's true. That's true.
It's not great. Like it doesn't really. It doesn't like have a glowing thing. Like here's where to go next. It doesn't do that.
Well, it's like kind of like Elden Ring also has a map, but it's mostly vague, right?
So anyway.
Well, it's a Game Pass game, so if you guys, after hearing all that, want to try it out, why not?
I think it's worth trying out. I just think if you're not into Elden Ring or Souls type games, this is a no. If you are into them, then you're already playing Elden Ring, and it's like, do you really want to invest in another one?
It's true.
Because like I started it and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool, and I do like the Zelda vibes, and the art style is definitely, it's not exactly my thing. It's a little
I didn't think so.
a little too indie BS, but it was still
But it's still cool.
still
It's well
decent.
done. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I started playing. I'm like, I don't know where I'm supposed to go. Oh, another game where I got to go to YouTube? No, I'm done.
There are these as you get close to the
Yeah.
to the first boss, there are these alligator enemies that come at you, and they are relentless. Have you gotten to those yet, Jeff? Did you get to that?
No, God.
There's
God, no.
these. There's
I'm
and again, they look so cute. They look like they're straight out of like a play set or something. Like they're very cute. These little
Yeah.
chompy. They look like toys, and then they will just start relentlessly chomping at you. I can take on one, and my shield helps me a lot there. But then once 2 or 3 come at you, it's impossible. Like if you've played Elden Ring, there's that area Caled that has these armless dogs that come at you.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
They
Those
do not
things
give
are-
you enough runes to justify fighting those idiots.
Oh, those things are horrible. But they're actually really fun to lead into a group of soldiers and watch them fight. That's fun. But don't, otherwise, they're not worth fighting. But these are similar. They're armless alligators that just have 2 legs and they run at full speed and kind of drag along the ground and then snap at you. It's like a much cuter version of those. And they're totally not.
God.
Less
Totally not.
rot.
Well, I think it's funny. Like the first
Let's
goal
rock.
that you have really is to get a good weapon,
Yeah.
and so you start with a stick, and you're on the journey to the sword. The room that has the sword is like full of enemies that you cannot take on with a stick by yourself.
Yeah.
Like just you'll die. So I'm just running past them, going to the sword, and going, "Yeah, what now?" And like, like so that's the type of game it is. Like just run past these fools and go. To
I
the next
fully
person.
believe you're actually saying what now as you beat
Yeah,
each
what
one.
now? What's up? What's up,
What
guys?
now? What
I'm
now?
one hitting the goo things. Yeah, it's great.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and even getting to the shield is actually surprisingly tough too. You do have to beat one of those shield guys with the spear, by the way,
Ah,
to get into the house that has the shield in the first place. So, you're right, Derek. This is a game where you're gonna have to do some googling to figure some stuff out because you're gonna get stuck. This is one of those. This is one of those games that does that. So,
Well, whenever a game does that, there's nothing wrong with it. That they're not wrong in doing that. They're correct. There's
Yep.
no accessibility is not, you can't use accessibility options. Nope.
if
That's a
people
no-no
want
word.
something more like Zelda, there's a lot of great Zelda games out there, and there's
Yeah.
even some good Zelda ripoffs that are in the
not
indie
just go play
space.
those. Yep, exactly.
There's a lot of them.
Accessibility is a bad word, guys.
I would actually say Death's Door is in that category because it's not nearly as punishing or as difficult. It's not easy, but it's not as difficult as this one by any stretch.
I would agree with that, and I'm about as far into. I got about as far into both, but
Yeah.
like, just initial first diddling impressions.
Hmm.
Death's Door was definitely one of the easier one.
Yeah.
It was like I was able to get through like almost everything until the first boss in Death's
Yeah.
Door, whereas this one I already died twice, and I have seen no boss. So it's tough.
Yeah, I had a good long stretch in Tunic where I didn't die, and then now that I've gotten to the area where the first boss is, even just trying to get to him through some of the enemies that are there, now I've died like 7 times. I'm like, okay, do I want to keep doing this, or do I say, hey, I've tried this one, I've given it probably a good 2-3 hours now. Is that it? Like, am I good?
Right.
And do I now just keep going Elden Ring and Horizon? We'll see.
Yeah, because you could always just come back to it. I mean, you're in the middle of a game that's like this already. So.
And I'm doing a ton of Googling in between stuff for Elden Ring and Horizon's giving me the story fix. So maybe I'm good for now on that one.
Right.
But I did want to diddle a little bit Shredders because that
Right.
just came out.
Shredders.
So Shredders was announced last year. It was supposed to come out at the end of the year and it got bumped a little bit. So, but it's also on Game Pass if you want to go check it out on PC and on Xbox. This is essentially if you liked 1080 snowboarding on the N64 back in the day, or really maybe some of the SSX games, although it's not quite as arcadey as those. It's a little more realistic than those, but not. Don't get me wrong, it's not a simulator or anything. It's still very arcadey.
Oh, so
yeah.
this is not a sitcom about Shredder from Ninja Turtles?
It is not. It's like his
two
family.
shredders living together and shredding.
His mother-in-law moved in with his family.
Right, yeah. It's a story of a lovely Shredder.
Why do you always wear those claws at the table? All right, so
Mom, shut up.
so Shredders is a snowboarding game. And the levels are set up very arcadey, where it's like similar to Ollie Ollie World, where they'll have some dialogue and some chattiness, and it's very goofy and silly. Like this is very silly, very silly. The writing is silly. The acting is sometimes, honestly, kind of chuckle worthy. Some of the jokes they make. It's not bad. It's a little cringy, but it's not chaos bad. Okay.
Nothing
then
is.
they throw you into like a quick downhill, whether it's a race or it's a challenge, like, hey, knock down this many flags or ride this many rails or follow this other snowboarder because he does all these cool tricks, but don't let him know you're following him. So it's like a follow mission down like little things like that. And then they'll have like at the end of it, it's like, hey, did you complete these bonus objectives or not? And you get a score on that course. You can move on to the next one or go back and try it again. So very much arcade style approach to the courses. So, and it's a $30 game even if you don't have Game Pass. So it's not meant to be a full priced game. But I thought the snowboarding itself felt pretty good. It's pretty fun. A little complex to do some tricks, but pretty fun. So
I actually I bought it a while ago, and I started playing on PC the Riders Republic. And the reason I bring that up is they don't have just, biking and stuff like that. They have snowboarding and skiing and all that. And that game is fun. That's a good game.
That game is fun.
Really good game. Really.
Hey, how's the snowboarding? I didn't try the snowboarding. I've done the biking and a few other things, but not snowboarding.
I've only done a little bit of the snowboarding. Everything feels really arcadey, but good. Yeah. Like real tight. Like when I was doing the bike riding, anytime I would come to, like, I was going super fast and I'd come to a turn, I was impressed with how quickly, because it's real arcadey, it's not realistic, how quickly you could turn and stay on the track and things like that. Another shout out to dang it, the Nintendo Switch game, the racing game.
Cruisin'
Blast, right?
Cruisin' Blast. Holy crap, I did not realize how much that's like Burnout. It's really, really good. Really, really
I've heard
good.
that was good.
I paid $10. I got it at Best Buy for a deal of the day. It was $20. I had $10 reward. It was $10, and I am so glad I got it. That's a really, really fun, like, Burnout feeling type game.
I would not have thought it's like
old
Burnout.
School Burnout, not like Burnout Paradise and stuff like that. I'm talking like
I knew
old
what you
school
meant.
Burnout, where you just pick a arcade race, jump in, and then you can sit here and you're racing. So the part that's not Burnout, that's all cruising, is the levels. The levels are like very like over the top. Like the jumps you're making, the things you're going through are very. It reminds me of dang it, now I'm gonna forget. It was one of my favorite games on the Dreamcast, and they had it in the arcade. It's the boat one.
Oh, Hydro Thunder.
Hydro Thunder.
Dude, I love that game.
Very much of like Hydro Thunder type game. So the levels are a lot like that. But the reason why I say it's got a Burnout vibe is because you can literally wreck. They get beside you, and you can press into them, and you'll see them blow up. Like they'll just like hit a wall and go crazy. And I'm like, oh, I didn't expect that. I was just expecting that I'd run into them, they'd stay by me, nothing happens. But they actually like wreck, and I was like, this feels like Burnout.
That sounds pretty satisfying, actually, making them blow up like that. That sounds pretty cool.
So it was really good. I really enjoyed that game, and then I'm just taking over the show. I just want to talk real quick that I did finish Elden Ring. I know we talked about it last week a lot, so I won't like hang on it too much.
Are your impressions still alpha?
Oh, absolutely. I freaking alpha AF the entire ending of that game. I destroyed boss after boss after boss. So I finished at like level 160 is when I started fighting all the final bosses. And I only lost to the very last boss. So spoiler, the very last boss is 2 bosses. And you fight them back to back. You don't get a break.
Ooh,
you don't get to replenish anything. You fight the boss. It goes to a cutscene. You fight the end boss, the last one. And the last boss, I think, took me 3 tries. And if you beat the first boss and then lose to the second boss, there is no save point. You go back and you have to fight the first boss. So the whole point is you have to make sure you get through that first boss in a survivable state.
Yeah.
Because the second boss, the Elden Lord, is this crazy, like he throws some crazy stuff at you, and you're going to need help. There's no way, unless you're an elite player, you're gonna take hits, and those hits are gonna be pretty hard, and you're going to need to heal. So if the first boss takes a good amount of your health away and stuff like that, then you're probably screwed. But Luckily, like we talked about last week, I had my Mimic plus 10. This was before the patch. I will talk about the patch a little bit. I think it's important. But I had my Mimic plus 10, and he was a huge help. I killed, in that area, at the end area, you fight I want to say I fought 4 or 5 bosses in one day, and they're all in. No, I fought 6 bosses, and they were all higher end, like legend bosses. I'm not talking about little, world bosses. And I beat all of them in the first go, except the very last boss. Oh, my apologies. The girl in the background, she worked me a little bit.
She's alpha. She's pretty alpha.
She's pretty alpha. She has 2 phases, and her 2 phases will wreck you. And you get a chance to buy her weapon, which I bought her weapon because it's a katana. In case y'all don't know,
Nice.
it's a very long katana like Sephiroth, and so I bought her katana, and I maxed it out. And the reason why is her special move, and you'll see it when you fight her, is basically she jumps in the air like slow-mo and does this, and then when she comes down on you, she just does rapid like
oh shit.
Yeah, and if you hit the special button again, she just keeps doing it.
Oh wow.
So it's a pretty powerful move, and she does it a lot. And if she gets you, you're done in that one set of slashes. You're done. But anyways, so I wrecked all the bosses. That's why I think the game is really, really hard. But like we talked last week, if you have the right build, that's what it's all about. It really is truly an RPG. If you have the right build, the right equipment, and you know your stuff, it's all about knowledge more than skill, then you can go in and wreck these bosses. You really can. You can walk in there and just beat them in your first go. And I didn't watch. The only boss that I had seen anything on was, and I didn't do it purposely, like I didn't search for him, I just watched it in a walkthrough, was, I won't spoil it, but he's in the game, you've already met him, but you end up fighting him. And he was really easy, but I think if you don't know the strategy, I could see he's pretty challenging. And what I mean by that is the strategy is you literally just keep walking towards him at all times, like a UFC fight match. You never back away from him, and you never give him space. You give him space, he'll kill you. If you don't, and you just stay on top of him, just swing every once in a while, keep walking towards him. Swing, walk towards him. Swing. He can't do anything. He can't recover. He keeps trying to use magic, and you keep interrupting him. So he was really easy, and I could see him being an issue. But overall, I felt like the way the game is built, you can dominate these bosses, but if you don't know what you're doing and you don't have a good build, they will wreck you. Now, the chick behind me, her level is optional. Everything about her is optional. The entire level, and that's why I have a feeling she's the collector's edition, is they really took their time to make her level really, really interesting. But also, it's probably the most brutal area I've been in the entire game. Absolutely brutal. I told y'all last week I don't lose runes. Like, the worst I'd ever done maybe before I went to her area was maybe I lost 30,000 or something like that, which that sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot when you're leveling up at 100,000. But I lost 300,000 runes.
So you had gotten far, died, and couldn't get back to it before you died again. Oof.
And by the time I got back to where my runes were, which wasn't that deep, I had already earned over 30,000. So that's the type of enemies you have. There's Erd trees all over the place. There's knights all over the place. There's people shooting arrows at you all over the place. There's magic knights that have all the armor and the shield and all that stuff, but they can also use magic to like just hit you from far distance.
Those guys are kind of almost like mini area bosses without being bosses in the capital city, which is where I'm battling through right now. And even one of those knights, I'm like, oh, gotta be careful. Make sure I approach this guy carefully. So the idea of there being a ton of those and those Erd trees too. Although right now they're the ones I'm going back to beat are actually pretty easy at the moment.
Oh, they're really easy. These are not easy.
Facing a bunch of them and high level ones, that sounds not fun.
Well, and the thing you got to remember, this is, pro tip or whatever, if it is everything in game is a lot of it's rot. So the Erd trees have rot, and they'll one shot you if you get rot. It happens so fast. You're like, oh, I didn't even have time to heal. You just killed me. Thanks. So there was a lot going on, but it was pretty cool. After I played through, I was like, man, that wasn't completely optional. Like, she's a main boss who's not a main boss. And they made the design of her level, even her boss fight was very epic. Very, very epic. It was challenging, definitely. Even with me being OP, it was challenging, but it was very, very epic. Now, that being said, there was a patch this week for the game, and the patch did some damage to a lot of people's builds and cheeses and all that stuff. And I luckily beat the game before the patch because it did. I went and I played another 10 hours since the patch, and I have my same build. I haven't changed anything. And the big thing I was using was the Horror Frost, I guess is what it's called, which is all it is you're two-handing your weapon, which mine is a katana that has the frost on it. And then I can do a stomp and it unleashes ice attack.
Nice.
What that does to a lot of bosses is it not only freezes them and damages them, but it stuns them. So a lot of them like freeze, and it gives you a chance if you want to either hit them or you just keep using the stomp. And the stomp does not take a lot of your FP because I don't have high FP. I can still do like 15 stomps before I even have to take a drink. So it was extremely OP because you're not consuming a lot of FP. It's stunning the enemies. It's doing high damage to most enemies.
And it was a fast cast before, too.
And it's fast. Now it's slower. It consumes way more FP. It does half damage. So, okay, so Daniel will know what I'm talking about. The area where you can kill
They crushed that
so
ability,
stupid.
dude.
That is so dumb.
Where they kill the chicken, where you kill the chicken to get a bunch of experience, runes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, in that area is a bunch of guys that are asleep, and there are 2,000 runes for each one you kill. I was before farming because I couldn't get the chicken to fall off. I would hit him with the arrow, he'd run to the edge and bark at me, and I was like, "Are you gonna fall off?" Everybody else.
I figured out that chicken area. It's just where you stand on the cliff. If you stand on a certain spot, he falls off every time.
Yeah. I was doing that for hours.
I did. Yeah,
I didn't. Got him.
That's how I'm level 103 now. Is because of that. I did that for.
You don't even want to. You don't even
know
what level I am.
Mine is way faster and way better. So those guys that are asleep, they're worth 2,000. Now, if you kill them at night, one of them usually is 10,000.
The red eyes.
There's 12 of them, so you get about 25,000 experience, and you can kill all 12 of them in about 1 minute.
Sure.
You get 25,000 experience in maybe a minute, and all I was doing was the Stomp Frost, and it one-shots all of them except the ones that are a little bit tougher, the red ones.
Yeah.
It takes a couple shots for those. But again, they all get stunned, so none of them touch me. I'm just running through the entire level, and I actually extended it to another 5 of them, so I was getting 35,000 experience in 1 minute. And I was doing it real quick, and I just kept doing it. So now I'm like level 167. I can still do that, and I still do it every once in a while. I haven't started New Game Plus. But now it takes 2 shots to kill the regular ones, and it takes like 4 shots to kill the ones that are aggressive and red. So it is they have definitely I personally, as somebody who's using it, I think they did the right thing. You're not supposed to be able to kill these in-game bosses on your first go.
That does seem OP.
I was doing that. Like, these bosses that you should be struggling with, I'm just going, stomp, mimic, do your job. He's bothering me. Stomp.
He's bothering me.
Stomp. That's all.
Derek, go take care of this.
Other Derek.
Now I can't do that. Now I have to get space because they are more aggressive towards me, and it takes longer to get my stomp off. Plus, again, it just doesn't do as much damage.
Dude, I was afraid in that patch they were going to put up a little wall for that chicken not to fall off. Thankfully, they didn't do that because that's a popular farming spot. For those of you who are listening, you know what we're talking about. Basically, there's a spot in the game. It's towards the end of the game. It's a very difficult area. I was way under leveled for it when I followed a guide on how to get there. But basically, there's a save point right on the edge of this cliff. There's a bunch of enemies sleeping nearby. As long as you don't go over there and start hitting them, they're not going to wake up. And then down off the cliff in another area, there's a platform where one of these giant, like wingless, evil demon birds is pacing back and forth. And you can hit it with a bolt or an arrow or something. It'll turn and charge at you. And if you get it at the right angle, it'll actually fall off the cliff and die. And it gets you like 13,000 runes if you have the golden scarab item equipped every time. So you just go quick save, it reloads, and keep doing
fast.
it. Yeah. You just keep saving and going back, saving, going back. And so that's a great way to like just farm a bunch of runes to level up if that's what you want to do, which I think is fun. Whatever, not everyone does. But I was afraid that they were going to be like, oh, that's a popular farming spot, is it? Because they have to know this. Like, there's no way the developers don't know.
Oh, they know.
This.
They just don't. They don't patch out unless.
I was afraid they were going to put like a
game.
little protective wall where the bird now can't fall, but they didn't do that.
Because
he still falls off.
They did patch out in that area. The boss fight. I don't know if you fought him yet.
I have not.
He's a tough boss. There was people breaking the game and getting like millions of runes because they were finding a way to jump around the boss's wall. And when you enter the arena, not through the door, but over the wall, he just stands there. So they were breaking the game and they were killing him, and he gives you like almost 500,000 runes, and they were just doing it over and over.
But it doesn't. But it doesn't count, so you can keep doing. Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah, because you didn't enter and then defeat.
Right,
I get it.
right.
I get it. Okay.
That's
So they just kept doing it over and over, and
see,
they were.
I don't like when a game gets broken like that. I think that's a problem. Or if they make something that's OP or something like that. I'm glad. I'm with you. I'm glad they fixed that kind of stuff. But man, that is disheartening to know that hey, this game that's insurmountable for probably, I would say most people, this game is going to be insurmountable for them to complete it. Most gamers, maybe not. Maybe that's unfair. There are ways, there are moves you can learn, there's weapons you can use, there's abilities that can help you, and they notice those and they nerf them. And it's not like it's totally nerfed. It's not like it's unusable now. It sounds like
it's still a powerful weapon and technique. It's just I think it's where it's
limited.
Supposed to be compared to what it was before, as they weren't balanced correctly.
Yeah.
It was exploited. And I could have exploited it even more. I wasn't even using it at its most powerful way. I watched a video and I actually went and did it. And then the next day they patched it and I was like, okay. I was just going to exploit this. Because there was people in New Game Plus that were killing bosses literally in one shot. Like they were killing Morgott. And all they were doing, Morgott and Godric with one shot. And all they were doing is you take two hands, two weapons. You have your one that has the frost on it, and then you have one that's a buff that buffs your offhand. So you buff your offhand by two-handing that weapon, and then you bring back the other weapon that's your offhand that's now been buffed, and then you do the frost move, and it's a buffed frost move, so it like doubles the damage. So it's already doing ridiculous amounts of damage. Plus now it's like doubled or tripled or something like that because it was another thing in the game that they didn't realize was that way, that was exploited by gamers. That's how intelligent some of these gamers are. They just go,
it's insane.
What if I use this to buff this? Let's see if it works. And they test it and like, it worked. And then they go share it and it exploits something in the game.
Especially a game this massive. The things that people find, like like the way you were just saying, somehow sneaking around the door, the back end, and killing. Like it's insane. It's crazy.
People will try every corner, every ledge. They'll try everything. And
well, I mean, they got 12 million people playing it,
or probably more than that by now. Of course, I'm still having a blast with this game. And I am also playing some more Horizon, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I am still having a lot of fun with it. And the reason I'm having so much fun with it is not just because of the Souls boss. I finally defeated that boss feeling. And that's there. This game has that feeling. All the FromSoft games have that. But that's not the strength of this one, in my opinion. This one, I keep finding these new tombs, these new dungeons, these new areas under a bridge, these new pathways I missed the last time or whatever, to explore and to find. And there's another optional, it doesn't have to be a boss. It could be an optional area with new enemies and new places to discover. And I love that. I'm in the part of that side quest storyline. It's a pretty major one, but it's still a side quest where I just flipped this whole tower upside down so I could progress across the bridge to the next part of that tower. You guys probably remember the part I'm talking about, where you get a special item, take it to a certain character, they give you this item that can flip the whole building upside down, and now you can finally get where you couldn't get before. and it's just so cool because now
I
you're
just
literally
did
upside
that
down.
today.
All the water's on the
Yeah.
ceiling and all this. It's just like, dude, this is so cool. Like it
Yeah,
just that sense of exploration is so fun. And again, that's where I get my kind of Zelda and even Valheim type of feelings from a game like this. Is there's always that what's around the next corner, what's through that
I
next
would
door.
agree as far as for me, this one never felt like, except maybe a couple times where I was like, holy crap, I beat that boss. And the reason why is because I only struggled with Radon and Nile, and Radon felt cheap, which we've
Yes.
talked about, and Nile felt cheap, but I actually don't think he is cheap. I just think I was wrong. And then once I figured out, oh, this is what you do, then he didn't feel cheap anymore. So that one I felt like that's awesome. You know, the strategy I used, the equipment I put on, that felt awesome, like I talked about last week. But all the end bosses, my addiction, and it's my fault. I really did break the game because I didn't want to be stressed out. I got enough stress in my life. So I was all about, I'm gonna max level up
Yeah, me
before I
too.
even touch these guys. I'm gonna max level up. I'm gonna max out all my weapons. I'm gonna get all the best armor. I'm gonna make sure I have everything at my disposal. So when I go and fight these guys, it's stress free. And it ended up, for the most part, being stress free. Now, cool thing about this that I didn't share is the last boss I fought, the very last boss of the game, I was so brokenhearted because I died, and I'm looking at his. I had one of those moments. It wasn't being filmed, and I looked at his health, and he had nothing. I'm like, he has nothing. Oh my god!
I hate that.
And I lost, and I was so upset. And then it said, it started doing the cutscene. I'm like, it gave it to me. It gave me the W. Now I
did
didn't get the reward. Like I didn't get any runes for killing him because it still said I died. But it activated the cutscene and was like, yeah, you won because you killed him. He's dead. So I was like, all right.
What a tragic hero's death, right? He died with the enemy at the end.
Yeah.
I didn't get to enjoy my victory, but I still got it.
Derek got
this
the
game-
secret ending.
This game, and this is someone who I don't play the Dark Souls games. I've tried Dark Souls 1 and 3 and Demon Souls, and none of them really hooked me. And I don't know, and I know they still have exploration elements to them. I know they have a lot of the things that you see in Elden Ring, but this game is special in those areas in a way that those weren't. Just I don't know why. I don't know what it is. There's something. I don't know if it's because I can get on a horse and travel really quickly and go to all these different. I don't know what it is.
The world.
It's the connected
world.
part because
I
like
bet you if you went back and played those games and you really gave them a chance, not, oh, let me check them out and then find out, well, it's not as open as the other one and pitch a fit. If you go back and play it for what it is, because you now learned a lot playing Elden Ring, I think you would appreciate them more because especially the original Dark Souls, I'm not going to spoil it, but after you've gone through everything and you see that the random worlds you were going to weren't very random and how they're all connected, you literally get to see it. It's a pretty cool thing. You start to appreciate how masterfully designed everything was. You think you're just going to a random place. You're not going to a random place. You're going to something that's connected.
It's all connected, yeah.
Yeah, and you don't realize it until the very end. That's what's, I think, what I said last week. It's a mystery that once you solve it, you're like, oh my gosh, this is so smart.
The feeling I had last night as I was playing was, there was this area on the map that I avoided. There was a giant guarding it, and I'm way over leveled now. I kind of skipped it and went way through a bigger chunk of the game. I came back and I was like, you know what? Let me just go. And that giant was easy to kill. Turns out he was standing in front of a well, and I was like, oh, it's one of these wells. Let me see what's down here. Probably a small dungeon. It's a massive series of underground castles and rivers with these giant ants and these lizard creatures. And this is huge area.
There's cities underground. There's literally entire cities underground.
So I've done some of the other city stuff like Nukron and some of the other ones that are, but this one, it's one of those things that you probably have no. There's no, that one. You'd have no reason to go there. Like the game doesn't take you there. You just have to stumble upon it. And I like those kind of feelings when I did finally get the map and it revealed, and it's not even the whole map. It's just part of the underground map. I just kind of leaned back like, how? How is this game so big? How is there so much?
This is what we've been asking for. Many, many gamers have said, I want you to make the optional things feel like a main thing, but still be optional. Meaning, like, create a main story, but then the world around it, make it where it's like, oh my gosh, this mission. Like, a lot of people, I know Tim says this all the time. The Witcher 3 had optional missions, like side missions that felt like main missions. It felt organic. It felt like it was something I was supposed to experience, but it's completely optional. That's exactly what they've created. They've created an entire world, set you on a journey, and said, go where you want to go. Do what you want to do. You want to fight 3 bosses and win the game? Fight 3 bosses and win the game. If you want to go and fight this chick that's behind me and go in her area and realize that area is the most fleshed out, most amazing area of the entire game, and realize that it's not even something you have to do. Are you aware of it? Yes, because if you go and talk to the main guy who gives you all the information, he'll talk about her. He'll be like, she's a lord or an elden lord. You need to take care of her, blah, blah, blah. So if you go and find her and find her area, you'll realize it's extremely fleshed out area, but it's completely optional. So they treat the entire game as if it's all a main quest, but it's completely open to whatever you want to do. You do whatever you want in whatever order you want.
Yeah.
And I think that's genius.
Well, they also reward the habit I have in video games that has usually never paid off, and that is I walk into a room and I want to check every corner. Let me just make sure there's nothing down this way first, down that way first.
Yeah, they reward you. So
rarely pays off. In this game, it pays off, I would say, at least a flip of the coin. At least half the time, there's something cool that I found because I like the courtyard you walk into in the academy. If you go around to the right, there's actually a ledge you can jump over, climb up a ladder, and now you're above where you just fought that dog. And then you can go, like, there's a whole different approach there. You can then get on the roof, go back to that church you were in, and get an item that leads to an emote that you actually need to open towers later in the game. It's all kinds of things that are connected that I am just so impressed by. So impressed at the way that they pieced all that together. So truly, truly loving it. I love that game. And it's funny, that's the game that I play. I play it on PC, and it's mostly late at night or when I have downtime during the workday or over lunchtime. Those are my times to play that game. And the game I play downstairs, because it has a very blockbuster, epic feel to it, and it's very kid friendly in my opinion. That's Horizon Forbidden West. There's probably a few cutscenes here and there that maybe a 7-year-old shouldn't repeat.
She just calls one guy like a chicken shit at one point. That's about it.
That's about it. It. There's a couple cutscenes where a surprising number of humans get violently killed, but like not a lot. It's generally a very kid-friendly. Go on next, and the animals that you're killing are usually, unless you're hunting foxes like an animal, they're usually robots. So it's very, very family-friendly. So anyway, I played a good chunk of Horizon Forbidden West and made 0 story progress. 0. I mean, I probably played for an additional 4 hours over the last 2 days, and I moved the narrative forward 0%. So now that I've got my swimming stuff, I'm going back and I'm just swimming and I'm exploring and I'm finding all these new little side missions. And I was like, oh, let me go to the hunting grounds here. Oh, let me swim under. I don't know what it is. I don't feel like I'm in a hurry. There's part of me, because I know, Jeff, you've advanced quite a bit. There's part of me that I'm like, I want to I want to find out what happens. I want to be part of the conversation as you guys get to the end. I know the story is going to compel me, and it already is compelling. But then I'm also like, but I'm not in a hurry either. Like, I know when I finish the story, I'm gonna stop playing for the most part. I might go back a little bit, but I don't know what it is about me in these kind of games. When I finish the main storyline, very rarely do I go back and spend a ton of time in that world.
Right.
So I'm trying.
That's most games. Even like Elden Ring, I honestly thought I was done with it. I finished it at like 85 hours. I'm almost 100 hours in. I just keep going back to it. I keep watching Fighting Cowboy play it, and I'm like, well, I want to go do that. I didn't see that. There's so many things that I've missed. I think I've killed most of the bosses, but I've still not killed all the bosses. I have not found every area.
Well, I'll probably do the same thing with Elden Ring that I'm going to do with Horizon, that I did with Zelda, that I do with all the Ubisoft open world games, and that is I try to do all the side stuff that I know I'm interested in before I finish the main game, because chances of me going back outside of some major DLC content is pretty low.
Oh, I'm going back. I'm doing New Game Plus as soon as I feel like I've finished everything that I want to finish.
That's fair.
That is the tricky thing with these games. They're all getting longer. and they're open world and.
Yeah, bro. We got to set a cap, man. I'm like 55 hours into Forbidden West, and I'm already like, if a game's over 50 hours, I'm getting a little irritated.
Dude, you're 55 hours in, and you're further than I am. I'm like, I'm about there, and I just finished Demeter, so I did the 3 of them, but I've been doing like a crap ton of side stuff. Like I'm like 46.
I'm with you. I think I'm at 40 hours, and I have not even started heading towards Demeter. I've done the other 2. I haven't even started heading that
one's
way.
Great, by the way.
Mine only had, I don't know what you guys are talking about, 3 options. It told me about Poseidon and Demeter. I went to Poseidon, did that, and now
Ether.
I don't think I ever got anything.
Aether, or however you pronounce it.
Yeah, I think they say Ether. Yeah, there's supposed to be 3 of them.
Ether's the first one.
I will tell you, you guys are gonna love the way I'm playing this game. Not heard a single word yet. I have the ability to literally cut through all their conversations, and these idiots talk way too much.
I actually just tweeted that. Hold on, let me pull up my tweet.
Don't at me. Don't at me.
Don't at me. No, definitely had him.
They talk a lot. Now, thankfully,
and I love the game, by the way.
Derek,
so,
you probably
I love it too, but
you probably aren't doing all the. There's so much optional dialogue, like, and I'm sure you're thankful for
that.
No,
I'm doing all the optional because I have ADD and I don't like that it's like
the little exclamation points that.
So I keep going to it, and I'm like, oh, you just got to do it once. No, okay, it's still lit up. Okay, it's still lit up. Oh my god, how long are you gonna talk?
Yeah, I kind of skip through that where I kind of get the gist of the sentence as it comes across on the screen and the subtitles. Yeah, I'm like, all right, I get it. Next,
voice acting is actually good in this game, but you're right.
Voice
acting is great.
I want to just, I can read that line faster than you're saying it. I do.
So my tweet was Aloy starting out the game. The tweet is, Aloy, I really don't have time for this. The world is ending. Also, Aloy accepts 50 side quests, 20 errands, looks for relics and old hologram pics and drones, and insists on asking each character she talks to a gazillion questions. That's literally the entire.
But isn't that kind of what you guys wanted? You wanted her to like chill out and be more human. So as she's going along,
there's a part
she changed.
There's a part in the story where there's a character who I won't say who it is, but there's a character that is basically saying like, "Oh my word, I can't believe you guys are so far behind. This is never going to work."
Right.
And then she's talking to Gaia about it, and she's like, "I don't know. She just seems so pessimistic." And I was like.
What? Aloy has no patience for that character. It's so baffling. Like, how can you not wrap your brain around this?
Well, because I guess she doesn't get mental health, like the actual stuff that's happening.
How do you not empathize that this person came from a totally different upbringing than you? I know. And you're immediately
that's where the lack of patience comes back in, right? It's probably also because of the situation. Without spoiling it, it's probably just so weird to her. It's like I need to get through. Like the world's gonna end, so I don't know. I think it's a lot of elements there. There's just a lot going on.
I just feel like this game, for me personally, you guys know I absolutely adore Horizon Zero Dawn. I beat it 3 times. It's one of my favorite games. I think Horizon's probably my favorite PlayStation IP. So I'm really excited about Forbidden West, and I'm 20-something hours in. I have no desire to listen to any of them talk. I sometimes get into the gameplay. It's Elden Ring that's ruined it. And I didn't think this was going to happen. I thought I would get into Forbidden West and just literally diddle in Elden Ring and then maybe come back to it. But I didn't even play Demon Souls on PS5 because I played maybe 2 hours because I was like, I'm over Souls games right now. I don't want to play this. And it's the opposite. I got hooked to Elden Ring, and every time I play Forbidden West, I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't want to say I don't like it because I do.
This is what happened with Zero Dawn, though, because I did the same with Breath of the Wild. Maybe you need to space out. Maybe you need to
That's what it is.
Yeah, you need to space it out.
Come back to it.
Yeah.
Come back to it. Make it your summer game.
I got mad at chaos. I have no patience.
Dude,
make it your
hot. Make it your hot girl summer game.
What's your name?
Hot girl summer game. There you go. That's why I'm mainlining Forbidden West. I don't want any other game to like taint this experience I'm having with it. So, and it's not, I mean, it's
Rundle.
I've been loving it so far. It's just, the qualms that I have with it are still the same stuff with the platforming. Right. There's especially there's a side quest that I did with this new character Alva.
Yeah, she's great, by the way.
She's awesome. But Derek will hate her.
Yeah. Well, she's a woman.
She's a
so-
talker. She's a talker. Let me tell you.
She's a woman and she talks. So.
And she is like very excited to be there. So but there's a side quest you do with her where you have to scale up, and this is when you're out further west near San Francisco.
Okay, I'm about to go do that.
So like you have to scale up a tower, and like the platforming is so freaking bad sometimes that I would just like fall off randomly. And I would like have to start at the bottom where Alva's hanging out, and she's like, "Oh, I can't go up with you," and I'm like, "I know, I'm trying to go up."
You get all Super Mario on.
Yeah.
It's a me.
You know,
I have had platforming fails in Horizon and in Elden Ring. Both these games I'm loving to death. Like they're two of my favorites in a while now, and I'm loving them so much. But the platforming in both is like
terrible.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Now,
especially
Horizon
coming
does,
out of
Horizon does
still
it better because Aloy is very agile and she can grab on ledges, and so like they do a lot more creative stuff with her. And of course, Elden Ring, you're just this kind of heavy soldier, and
you just jump on a horse.
Yeah, but they do some creative platforming stuff. They do, and then for Horizon, it's
for
Horizon, there's
all done to get you to die.
It is
not.
That's exactly
they intentionally put things in certain areas to make you go.
Well, they
like,
put a little dead body with a glowy thing over it, and like there's a purple hue to that one. That looks like an important item, but it's just out of reach. You're like, well, maybe I could make this double jump. They do that to you a lot. But anyway, with Horizon,
and even dropping down too, they screw up your depth perception.
For me, with Horizon, it's less about that, where it's like, man, my character is too clunky, because that's Elden Ring. With this, you don't
especially going from I just was playing the Uncharted remaster, and
yeah.
I mean, say what you want about how unrealistic the platforming is in that. It's very smooth and intuitive.
Very smooth. So, like even this, when you're trying to go up at an angle up a cliff, I'm like, I don't know why I can hold on to that one, but I can see a ledge right there that looks the same. Why can't? Yeah. Why did they map me to climb this way? I don't understand that. And then the way she sometimes jumps, sometimes doesn't. I've fallen a bunch, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
So I don't. Am I like at 55 hours on the final mission? Am I kind of like going a little fast? Is that what is that what you're
I don't
saying?
think so.
No, how long it beats says the main story is a 27-hour experience.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Right.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
So I'm actually I am doing all the side stuff and errands, and I have one cauldron left. I have one rebel camp. A couple outposts. Outposts are much shorter.
Completionists, they're saying it's 83 hours to do it.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna hit that because I don't want to do there's some stuff like the fighting grounds or whatever, hunting grounds.
There's a lot of stuff I don't care about.
The board game.
What difficulty are you playing on?
I'm just on easy and
okay. So that I think that contributes to it too, because it's probably you're defeating enemies more quickly. Like
yeah. On normal, I'm getting frustrated at times.
What
the hell is going on here, man?
Can I ask you guys? So you're playing on normal. There are way more bigger robos in this one than there were in this one.
And they keep showing up, and you're like, how can you make bigger ones now?
So like,
far in the story.
My issue is like like Tim was saying, Aloy is agile and she moves around quickly for sure, but the bigger robos are just as agile, if not faster.
They're on top of me, like right on right.
Those thunder jaws get close to you real quick.
But like I'm talking like
it's crazy.
And there's always like little robos around too. So it's
even the turtle, who by definition should be slow, is super fast.
Yeah. Oh, he's right up on me. Dude. He's swatting at me. I'm like, what are you? You're a turtle.
That's why
what is it? Rock Breaker. The Rock Breaker can go fuck himself.
He goes way underground.
Maybe I'm playing the game wrong, but I know the original one they really were encouraging. In the beginning I did, and then when I got OP I was like, I don't care about stealth, but they encourage you to play stealth. Yes. I know they want you to play stealth in this one. I've yet to figure out how to, because
then they know where you are.
Exactly. I feel like there's too many enemies in the area that I'm like, oh, I'm sneaking up on this one, but 17 other ones spotted me. I'm like, fuck this shit. Now I've got everything all over me. So
stealth works best with the rebel camps when you're fighting humans. It works really well. With robots, it works maybe for your first kill. Let me get rid of this one, maybe two before they all start.
For me, it's that. That's how it's especially now being so OP, and I'm approaching level 30 type of side quests, where like sometimes I'll start. The last cauldron I did, you start above on like a cliff, and you're looking down, and you have to swim actually to get to the cauldron. So like there's like what do you call it? Oh really? That's like the level 40 cauldron where you fight.
Is it Kappa or something?
You fight the Loch Ness thing. At the end.
Yeah. I just did that one. That one's
Yeah.
awesome, dude.
That one's great, and that's where you get the Thunderjaw. You get much bigger ones you can override.
Ocarina of Time vibes, right? Freaking changing the water levels. Like,
yeah, you have to
Ocarina
swim
of Time.
like you're like, oh, I can't fight him here. He's underwater.
I gotta lower the water. Like,
yeah,
like, is this Ocarina of Time? Like, what's happening here? It's like,
so like starting up there, I'm able to just easily stealth. But one of the machines is a turtle though. But the other ones are like ones I can one shot now with my sharpshooter, whatever bow. Just one shot the what are they called? They're the ones you start fighting at the very beginning of the game. They're like
the
burrowers or whatever.
The one-eyed ones, right?
The burrowers.
Yeah, one-eyed ones.
Burrowers.
One shot them now with the, and again, it could be because I'm on easy mode, but I think it has to do with being OP as well.
Sure.
Where like I have that sharp shot bow that's like a ultra rare, and it's just like one shot into a weak spot and they're dead like immediately. So the turtle has no freaking clue what's going on. But then of course the turtle eventually spots me, and it takes forever to beat him with all the spikes I throw at him.
Yeah, it's.
I love that spike thrower, dude. It's my favorite.
It honestly is too much. They need it. It's either like you focus on the big robo, and that's fine on its own, because then you can use everything at your disposal to kind of work at it, rip off some of the armor or something and kind of work at it. But when there's all the like little distractions and they're just you're trying to move the camera around and maybe get some distance, but like I said, the rock breaker will go under the ground, and there's no sort of like consistent.
That rock breaker has still been my least favorite. And I fought the slaughter spine, which is bigger than the thunderclaw.
Yeah.
I had to turn it on easy on. I think it's the rock breaker fight.
The rock breaker sucks, dude. They just suck. I was like,
this is so stupid. He just keeps popping up underneath me and killing me in like 2 seconds.
In different manners, right? Because sometimes he'll pop up and he shoots like fireballs, and then sometimes he does like a whale breach thing, and then other times he like just goes in and out, in and out.
You can't stay locked on him, which would have made those way different.
Sure.
Like at least allow me with my focus to have an understanding of where he is. The lock breaks, and then you have to just frantically run in a direction to try to get
hope
away.
He doesn't come behind you. Like
so that's real bad. There's no way to frame it. Yeah.
Like the rope caster actually does work really well for the enemy, but he doesn't stay above ground super long. But that is a great way to keep him up there. He gets stuck. You can rope cast him fast enough, and especially if you have the rope caster special move with R1, where it's like doesn't matter about the armor, it'll instant stick him to the ground and it like fills up that meter quite a bit. Anyway, so if you're having trouble with that one, rope caster is a way to go. But
good, that's good to know. I didn't know that. But so like, and I only fought him once, and I expect I'll have to run into again in the final mission or something. I still have a couple one side quest left. So you do get the ability to. There are some side quests that you'll pick up where the characters will allude to, it's just out of reach. It's up too high, and she's like, well, I can't fly yet, So eventually you do get that ability, and then you're going to want to go do everything flying around. And that's awesome. I love that stuff. Dang it. There was something else I wanted to add to. Dang it. Now I can't remember what it was. Dang it. Whatever. It's a big
language.
Darn it. The shooting heck. Tootin'.
Darn it.
Dr. Dre. God damn it.
I'm loving the main story development. I just fought Angela Bassett's character, whatever her name is. Yes, she's the main rebel Tunic who is trying to lead the war.
She's the queen of Wakanda too.
The infighting. She is.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really? Oh, that.
Or the queen. What mother queen? Whatever you call it, where it's like the mother of the person that's reigning.
Queen mother or whatever. Yeah.
I just had that main confrontation, and that was awesome. That was so freaking cool.
Yeah, they have yet to have again, not to keep.
Yeah, every time I do a main mission, it's like amazing. But
the Horizon and Elden Ring cinematics and epicness have been off the charts. So both these games are just adrenaline-inducing to the max. I was still poking around on How Long to Beat, which is a really fun site, by the way, if you're ever curious how long stuff takes. I like it because it's good metric. Yeah. It's kind of like Metacritic, but for how many hours it took people to beat stuff, and then how many to do the main thing plus some extra, and then how many to be a completionist.
Yep.
But Forbidden West is saying 83 hours for completionist, and Elden Ring is saying 109, which seems short to me for completionist.
Because there's some players in our group that are like 100 in, and they've beaten like 2 bosses.
Yeah, we won't name any names, but yes.
Some people just play totally freaking. I don't know what you're doing for. I don't know what you're doing.
Some games are hard for.
Forbidden West has been striking me as a much larger and lengthier game than Zero Dawn, but they're roughly the same across main story, main plus extra, and completionist. It's in
That's
that 30-hour range, 50-hour range, and an 80-hour range.
Because the map is still like I did all the tall necks already, so I have everything. It can show me everything basically that's grayed out, and I still have a lot of chunk of clouds that.
Dude, did you feel bad for taking down that one to try to help it first? I felt bad.
Oh yeah.
That was such a dick move. Yeah, you have to shoot with the barista or the barista. The
ballista.
You throw the
Starbucks employee.
You throw the effeminate coffee maker.
Yeah.
I got an order for Jif.
How many pumps of this did you need?
That's amazing.
Yeah, it just falls on its face and it's lying there. It's like, oh, I'm sorry.
But then, for comparison's sake, The Witcher 3 is sitting on here on this list for some reason, and that and Breath of the Wild were equivalent in about 50 hours for the main story, about 100 for main plus extra, and about 170 to 190 for completion.
Jeez, man.
Oh, and Red Dead Redemption is in that same boat with those two.
Yeah, that sounds
makes
about
sense.
right.
That one got me at almost 90 freaking hours to beat, and that's another one where I don't do this.
50 hours of it, you're just walking.
I don't do. Whatever,
yeah, exactly.
I don't
10
do
hours of
mini
story,
games.
50 hours of walking.
I don't do mini games much like Forbidden West. I don't do the mini games that are like hunting grounds. I'm just like whatever. I don't care. But every side quest thing I stumbled upon, I would do. So that's like.
Yeah,
that's pretty telling. That alone was like 80 something hours to beat.
Yep. When it's done well, the idea of a side quest should be compelling and it should distract you if it's being done well. There's the games that don't do it well, where they just pop up all this kind of stuff on your map. You're like, don't want to do that. Don't care about that.
It's the optional conversations. Actually, there was one point where I had to stop for the night. I had to go to bed. It was totally unreasonable for me to be up at that hour. And the things I get bothered by are the things that bother Derek with most games. It's the optional conversations.
Yeah.
So I have to clear these exclamation marks. I have to. Yeah. So I go up to them, and it's like every time I finish a conversation and I walk away, there's like a new exclamation mark. I'm like, what the hell? I just talked to you, and so I'm just having to skip. I have to go to bed. Come on, like it's.
I go through the main things with like other random characters, but the ones that are like the main cast, I try to listen to. It's usually mostly interesting, I would say.
Yeah.
Even the side characters are much better voice acted this time.
Yes. Right.
But yeah, it's usually interesting stuff. It's just not. It's not 100% essential.
No, I
and
still
even the side
hate
quest stuff is still good.
It's so stupid. Dude, you have terrible
is that what
hair.
He does?
He's the resident.
He's always like,
hold on. But he finds out about heavy metal. And he just sits there and he does like air drums and while he's hanging out on the base. It's pretty cool. I appreciate him.
I do like that all the side quests. You mentioned compelling side quests, and I do like that all the side quests do have some element of lore built in them.
Yeah, they
do.
That like either shatters someone's perception of something that they thought about their tribe, or opens their world up, or something. It's really cool. Yeah, that stuff is all really well written. I'm very impressed by that.
In an effort to add realism to her hair is weird in cutscenes.
Dude,
oh yeah.
Oh God, I just did the main mission. There's a main mission where she gets whatever, something happens to her.
Yeah.
And she's just laying there unconscious, and her hair is like
like Medusa, like snake.
It's like literal spaghetti.
What is going on with this design, dude? Like,
yeah, it's some kind of weird physics rules that they've programmed in to try to give it some realism.
It's just constantly windy, apparently.
And it doesn't help that I don't know if it's the way that Ashley Birch acted it, and they, that's the way they caught it on film, or if this is the way they're animating her. But I feel like every character she talks to, she'll look at him while they talk, and she'll kind of go like, she's always looking elsewhere and kind of like turning her head.
I think that's like a stock. I think it's a stock animation they just keep recycling because
it's very strange because you can't keep eye contact. I'm like, is she on crack? What is her deal?
Maybe she just has ADD. Maybe she has ADD.
I don't know. I encountered a character that has like dementia. They have no idea what to call it.
I gotta go.
So,
yeah.
Well, I mean, it could
go.
Well, she always is reluctant to help. She's like, if I have time when I go up there, maybe I'll do it.
This may sound a little woke, but it could be social anxiety. Because I mean, some people just don't like making eye contact when they're having a conversation.
Maybe, and like I said, maybe autism. There's a lot of diagnosed stuff going on in this game.
That is very not alpha.
Well,
hey, listen, we mentioned Rockstar earlier.
Sure I stare everybody right in there.
And we're all uncomfortable.
We mentioned Rockstar earlier. Jeff, what are your thoughts on GTA 5 Remastered? You played it a little bit.
It sounds like Kyle in our conversations, he's
Played
like
more.
way further ahead in this game,
Okay.
and this is exactly the distraction he's needing from something like
Are you playing the story mode or online?
Story mode. I'm in story mode. I know there is some online stuff that you unlock by getting this version of the game on the consoles, but yeah, I mean, it looks great in 4K in the fidelity mode, whereas I know that's 30 frames and that's not ideal for gaming, but it looks amazing that way. I do notice the improvements in the animation of like the facial expressions and the talking during, cutscenes and stuff, and like the draw distance. It just looks very impressive. But as
this
soon as
game's 9 years old.
it's not even fair that it looks that good still. But as soon as I put it in performance with ray tracing, I see that beloved blur that Derek likes to talk about. I see that blur in the draw in the distance. And I'm like, this is.
Get on my level. Get an RTX 3090, and you'll be saying everything's blurry if it's not on there. It's terrible.
We'll be getting refunds for everything that's below
Your
4K.
trash consoles are just garbage now.
I've got it.
Thank
Derek, you got the GTA 5 remaster on PS5 apparently, right?
I did.
So I just downloaded that, and so I do want to try it out.
I just did the first couple missions that you have, like where you're Franklin and you're Michael.
Okay. What a fun game! I love that game so much.
I love that game. Yeah. I played that story. I beat it. Like that's the most I've beaten the story to date. Like I played it 5 times.
Yeah.
I just love that story.
Yeah. And before we talk about a few more headlines and then stuff we're watching to wrap it up, just wanted to give a quick shout out to how friggin' awesome Castle Crashers still is. My kids are back on a Castle Crashers kick, and watching them all play multiplayer together. It's just one of those. It's just a great couch co-op. It's silly, but the leveling up is addicting. It's got a great gameplay hook. It's just what a great game. That game's like 14 years old now, I think.
You've slightly more than diddled WWE 2K22, right? So you can kind of vouch for my opinion of it not being like it's not trash.
It's fun. It's fun. I think the controls could use a little tweaking. Like I feel like the controls are almost there. Like when you're in a match,
I agree. Almost.
There's a little too much thinking involved for some basic things that I want to do. But in general, it's a lot of fun. I feel like because I'm doing my career or whatever, I created my dumb wrestler and I'm working my way up through the training and all that. And so I've probably done 6 or 7 total matches in that game and done a lot of customization.
Customization's stupid. Like it's there's so much to do. Oh my god.
But dude, if you're a wrestling fan, even if you're a classic wrestling, if you're like me and you're like, I don't really care about wrestling now, it's still a really fun game and lots of classic wrestlers show up. The 2 that are training you in the story mode or whatever it's called is it's Road Dogg and Shawn Michaels are like
they're still doing that. They do that for realsies in the performance center.
And even and you have all these kind of quote unquote story missions you can go on, whether it's through a phone conversation or through someone you talk to. Hey, the character animations in the chats are horrible and like it does not look good. Once you're in the game itself and they show like one of the missions was he wanted me to look back at some of the classic matches and then imagine how I would do against these classic wrestlers. And then so in the game, it actually lets you wrestle against Hulk Hogan from the 1988 SummerSlam or whatever it was. And so the entrance for Hogan, dude, it looks so good. Like it looked really real, and it was just like, this is amazing. I for a second I thought it was a FMV like video for a quick second. I was like,
I can see that. Yeah.
But it's not. It's all in game. Anyway, all that to say, that part looks great. The cutscenes and the story stuff looks real bad. So just know that. And it's
it's about what you expect out of these games at this point.
I mean, if you played the Madden or NBA story modes, you know what to expect. It's the
right.
They didn't put the most effort into those visuals, but it's the visuals when you're playing the actual sport that's good.
I still like the I recommend the GM mode. I
do want to try that. I just want to get good at the wrestling first. Like
I agree. I hear you. But you can say GM mode is more like it could be a mobile game. I mean, you can simulate everything and you don't even have to wrestle. So I mean, it's mostly about managing the talent, which is
lots of upgrades, so much stuff to unlock. If you like managing stats, you essentially level up and get more stats. That you can pump into your different abilities.
Because each match can get like a 5-star rating or whatever. It goes in.
It's good, man.
Based on your rating and stuff.
It's a fun game. It's definitely worth the money if you like wrestling at all. Even if you're like me and I'm very nostalgic for late 90s, early 2000s wrestling. That was my time to really enjoy that.
I am too. And that's why I like AEW so much, because it feels like I'm watching that again.
That's what I keep hearing. But anyway, I do recommend it.
R.I.P. Scott Hall.
Oh yeah, R.I.P. Scott Hall. Yeah.
The bad guy.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Hey yo.
Hey yo. I mean, just
He made wrestling cool, bro. Like
he did.
you really don't. Oh man, y'all have to go back and watch the footage of him debuting in WCW, walking in through the crowd.
I remember
and
that.
like because some people might not have the context because it's been so long, but this is like 96 or whatever. He left WWF, went to WCW.
But
he came
people
down
thought when we were watching,
in the middle of a match.
We thought that WWF sent him for real.
Yeah, yeah. And they were like blurring the lines. Like
that's
the story
what was so cool about the stories. Yeah.
And he just grabbed a mic and he just goes, "You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here." And it was just like so freaking cool. Like it's just he made it so cool, man.
I mean, say what you want about Eric Bischoff. Those storylines in the early days of WCW really skyrocketing were good. Like all that stuff really was good. It was good.
And Sting, like they told like a 6-month long story of Sting not knowing where you didn't know where Sting stood. He was doing erratic stuff. Like he just hang out with NWO in the background sometimes, or he'd give bats to WCW wrestlers until one pay-per-view he just unloads on everybody, and the crowd lost their minds. It was so.
Did I still remember the Wolfpack thing where he takes off one shirt and they think he's on their side and he takes that off and this is like the double fake out? It's like,
oh, he's when they had a bunch of Sting impersonators come in and he's one of the impersonators and he takes off.
But it's really him. Yes.
Where he takes off a Sting mask and it's Sting.
Dude, there's a reason we compare wrestling to a soap opera. The storylines are very similar.
Right.
Anyway, all right. Yes, I do recommend that game. That game is a lot of fun. Talk about a good palate cleanser in between all these huge open world games that require a lot of concentration and focus and combat readiness.
Well, things are going to get worse because there's like 3 games I want that are coming out next
Kirby,
week.
Tiny Tina, and Ghostwire.
On the same day.
On the same day. God damn it.
And I didn't even talk to you guys about Triangle Strategy, which actually is a really good game.
Oh wow, I'm surprised you're playing that actually.
The demo was a lot of fun.
Well, it's basically, your Fire Emblem.
Yeah, but I'm saying there's a lot of yappity yapping. There's a lot of yapping.
Good Lord. I just put it on auto and walk away.
And walk away. Like, why are you even doing the fight?
It's turn-based, so when he comes back, it's his turn in the next battle, so he can just go.
So why are you even... Okay.
Yeah, no, that game is really good. All right, we got to wrap this up, so let's talk through a few headlines real quick. I thought this was interesting that Gran Turismo 7, as good as it's getting with critic reviews, after the last couple of days of shenanigans, it is now the lowest user score average ever on Metacritic. Ever. It's at 2.5, I think, and dropping right now. Now,
lower than Last of Us 2?
Babylon's Fall.
The last couple days, it's lower than Babylon's Fall.
Oh, jeez.
Well, that's because no users are playing it, so they don't have anything to say.
The last couple of days, it was offline, and so
can't even play it. Yeah.
It came to everyone's attention that, I bought this game, and if my internet connection isn't great, or if your servers go down, I can't access anything. There's like no content hardly that you can access. I think that's a bad setup for a game. Like even if you play Forza,
when my internet is like just you can whatever. If you disconnect, it's no big deal. Just keep playing.
You still play the game. It's just you have to the online stuff goes off. So that's bad. So I understand people being mad about that.
I mean, you can still play it. Like I played it. Not yesterday, but the day before or whatever. Yesterday. No, I played it yesterday because that's when it first shut down. And I was like, what's going on? I don't understand why it's not connecting. And I'm in offline mode. And you can still play it, but you can't do anything that you want to do.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, people are saying that a good amount of the content that people want in these games is locked behind being online, like having that connection there. I don't play the game, so I wouldn't know. But I'm just saying that's what a lot of the complaints are. And they apparently, in a recent update, just decreased a lot of the rewards you get from in-game racing, which means that they're essentially pushing.
Bad.
They decreased it.
Are you serious? It was already bad?
They decreased
it. Was already really bad.
And so your in-game rewards are less, which means it's so obvious they're pushing you towards the microtransactions, which are there in the game.
That's so disappointing.
Okay, I hope, I hate whiners, but this is where I'm asking all the whiners to come on out. Please whine about this because it's already bad. It's like NBA 2K bad.
Yeah.
As far as you're not let me say it this. It's not that the rewards are god awful. They're not good, and if they've hacked them or something like that, that's really, really bad. It's the cost for everything is not real cost, meaning if a car in real life is like 100,000, they charge like 400,000. It's like buying a car from Walt Disney World. Like they just are like, oh,
Sure.
we'll just jump the price up.
Yeah, it's got that
times.
freaking mouse on it, right? So I mean, it's obviously worth it.
Dude, that was another beautiful thing about Forza was everything felt accessible and attainable. Even the expensive, fancy, awesome cars felt.
I don't care what people say. Call me a fanboy or anything. Forza Motorsport. That's not Horizon. Forza Motorsport is the superior game all around. And this is coming from somebody who, and I've talked
as a driving simulator game, right?
I enjoy Gran Turismo 7. I think it's fun. I just don't think, I think the presentation's lame. It's still presentation from PS3. I think graphically, this is going to shock people, it's not that amazing. It really isn't. It looks decent, but it still looks like they took PS4 assets and then just went, okay, we'll make it 4K. They did not make it look more detailed. The world that you're in isn't prettier.
So this is one of those effects of that people get upset, like, hey, why is it still PS4? Make it PS5 only. And this is one of the side effects of that is it still feels last gen.
Is it both though, or is it just PS5?
It's both. No,
okay.
It's both.
Okay.
I didn't realize that.
And again, don't run with it and take it out of context. Like, oh, he hates the game or he's an Xbox.
Like it.
It's a good game. I keep coming back to it. I'm like, this is fun. I'm enjoying the cafe and doing all these little things. And now I'm getting into the races and I'm getting better at the racing. And I found, the settings that work for me. And that's, I'm playing it on normal, but I have enough like helpful settings that it doesn't feel overwhelming. So it's a tough game. Like I was making the joke, it's harder than Elden Ring. It is. Like sim racers are extremely hard if you play them the way they're supposed to.
2022 is the year of the tough games, man.
It's
the past couple of years haven't been tough at all. So I mean, just throw it at us,
That's true.
I mean, to be fair, that is the feedback gamers kept giving developers is that we're tired of you holding our hands. We're tired of you making easy games. We're tired of this, tired of that.
Here we go.
And now we're making all those and people are whining and being like, why are you not holding my hand?
Yeah.
Why
well, they want accessibility. Remember, that's the word. That's the bad word.
They're really dumb.
So yeah, it's funny to see this one get that low of user score. I think it'll over time in the long run, it'll swing back up to a more relatively normal score. Right now, it's getting bombed. But speaking of horrible Metacritic scores, Babylon's Fall. Square Enix is insisting that the future of this game is not in danger, despite the tough start. They've already got the next couple seasons pretty much done, they said, and they're working on season 3.
Dude, have you guys actually looked at that game?
No.
I mean,
I've actually
looked at it, yes.
Just the video. I've watched one YouTube thing of
gross, ugly, like Strangers of Paradise looks better than that.
But dude, they actually said there's a number of elements that they want to improve in the game, but visuals is not one of them.
Wow. They absolutely nailed what they envisioned.
This is the same group that criticized the Avengers and
and Guardians.
Okay, cool.
Right.
Sure.
Dude, I hope they don't say that this didn't fall under expectations or something like that with Babylon. Like that would be hilarious if they just don't even say that at all.
They don't have players. There's nobody that cares about this game. And
on release day, it was 650 people. Not 650,000
on Twitch. Yeah.
No, on active users on Steam on release.
Oh.
So it didn't even crack the top 50 on the day it came out.
So
I mean, that's really embarrassing. That's real bad.
Yeah,
it's really bad.
But let's get to some good news. If you're a Monster Hunter Rise fan, the Sunbreak DLC, there was a new I don't know if it was a full direct, but there was a new video on that just came out. That's launching on June 30th on both Switch and PC. And that apparently is going to have a whole bunch of content. So go check that out. They showed some of the new monsters and some of the new gear that they're going to include in story. They're going to include with Sunbreak for Monster Hunter Rise. And then we didn't cover this a couple weeks ago, but it was announced that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, I don't think we talked about this.
No, I don't think we did either.
New entries in the Pokemon. I mean, it's full on new Pokemon games. Scarlet and Violet with, new starters and the whole deal. It's not like a remake or a spinoff. It's like the, new entries like Sword and Shield. And that comes out this holiday.
Good. We don't get enough Pokemon.
I know it.
There's never any Pokemon games.
Nope. We didn't just have one 2 months ago, that's for sure.
Nope.
Um, and then, what were we gonna say, Dan?
Well, I was gonna say if you guys had a particular starter you thought was cute.
No, my kids all liked the fire one though.
There you go.
I showed them that one.
Did any of you buy the Mario Kart booster?
Oh, and the cat. My daughter liked the cat, but the boys liked they thought the fire one looked funny and silly, and they liked that.
Yeah, they're that duck looks like he ain't gonna take it. That duck is pretty alpha, I would say.
That's a Karen duck if I ever saw one.
That's a Karen duck.
Yeah, he just asked for the manager. Just
He's like, I'm here to kill chaos only.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So yeah, that's a pretty big announcement. I think we totally missed it, unless I just forget that we talked about it.
I was asking, did any of you buy Mario Kart 8's DLC?
No.
No? It released on Friday. I
yeah.
Some of you guys would.
No, I am on the fence whether or not I want to get their expansion pass plus and try some N64 games, and then also get that DLC for free. That's comes with the expansion pass.
So
plus.
I technically have the DLC. I just don't have the Switch version. I have the Wii U version still. I never bought the Switch
Mario
version.
Kart? Really?
Yeah,
you're not one of like the 20
fake
million
Nintendo fans.
No, so they could get one more sale.
Yeah, dude,
This
that
is
game
how
is
they
on
keep getting
that
this
game tops the charts every month. I don't understand. It.
Same as GTA.
Yeah, who doesn't have that game now? That's crazy.
I don't know. I feel like everyone who has a Switch.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, a couple more things. Supermassive
Switches are still sounding
good. They've announced their new horror game, The Quarry. Of course, this is the folks who are doing the Dark. What's it called? Dark Pictures Anthology, and they did Until Dawn. Thank you. And so this is a brand new IP. It's not connected to those as far as we know, and it comes out on June 10th.
Well, no, it's a quote unquote spiritual successor to Until Dawn. So it's like a full Until Dawn experience.
Until Dawn, yeah.
But it's not a sequel to that with like.
No, I don't think so. Not in the traditional sense.
I mean, they might tie it somehow, but I doubt it.
Yeah, it might be like in the same universe or something. But like, it's the same idea of. There's a lot of famous actors in this. Like you'll recognize a lot of people in this.
Dave Arquette.
And, David Arquette's like the don't do anything when I'm gone type guy. He's old man in this. and yeah, it feels like it's like a whole cast of like 8 kids or something you got to keep alive. So it looks like it's going to be like a long one, not like one of those Dark Pictures where it's like 4 or 5 hours. I think it's going to be like 4 or something.
And Derek mentioned this earlier, but the FromSoft team tweeted out that Elden Ring now has 12 million tarnished, so we can just assume that means 12 million copies sold.
Jeez.
That is a verified home run hit. I mean, that's
insane.
That's a blockbuster game.
Dark Souls 3 just hit, I think, 3 million not too long ago.
Really?
So clearly people jumped on this bandwagon that normally don't buy Souls games.
It was a combination of the hype from industry leaders like Jeff Keighley, whether you like him or not or whatever. Like he helped build hype for this game, of course, with the Game Awards. Having George R.R. Martin attached helped, and for people who are doing all the previews, talking about how this is the Legend of Zelda of Souls games. Like they had the right messaging going into this thing, and I mean, listen, even selling 3 million, that's a pretty solid outing for most studios, for most games. That's not bad at all. I mean, it's not like,
they sold 12 million, but 9 million people asked for a refund because of accessibility issues.
Accessibility.
So they
Which
really
then
only
puts it
made
under
3 million.
expectations.
Oh boy. So anyway,
for Square, that would be under expectations, by the way.
That is probably. That is a massive hit. And I'm glad that it's that big of a hit, and I hope that they. Like I would much rather hear that they're working on Elden Ring 2 than Dark Souls 4, personally. But
I mean, this is Dark Souls 4. We're never going to get another Dark Souls game. They're done with that series. So this is why people are like, Elden Ring is nothing but an open world Dark Souls. Yeah, because they're done with Dark Souls, so they're making a different Dark Souls.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it was like with Demon's Souls, right? Which technically is owned by Sony, right? In the name. So they were like, all right, well, we'll do Dark Souls instead.
So. There you go. There you go. There is a rumor right now that Uncharted, the Thieves Collection, that could actually release in July. Someone was doing some digging around the Steam API with a recent update, and it looks like July might be when that hits PC.
So the Legacy of Thieves, is that referring to 4 and Lost Legacy?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that didn't come out? I thought that came out the same day as the...
It's not on PC. It's just on PS5.
Oh. I'm waiting for it on PC. I mean, I bought the upgrade on PS5 just to own it.
Yeah.
But I'm waiting... I won't play Uncharted 4 again, but I'll play the other one for a
Lost
second
Legacy.
time.
This is one of those this is
Fake-
one of
fake
those
fan.
data mining
Okay.
rumors that could be true,
Oh,
and it
guys,
could be
I want to climb another rock.
it could be a placeholder date. They could have just said like, hey, a second half of the year, put 7/1/22 on there. Like it could be a placeholder date, but it could be coming in July.
Summer
Uh,
makes sense.
It's gonna come. They
Yeah.
already said when they were launching the PS5, they're like coming soon. Like they,
Yeah. It'll be there this year. Just who knows when. Hopefully July. That'd be a good time for that.
I really want PlayStation to start moving their games over faster. I would absolutely love to play Gran Turismo 7 on PC because we wouldn't have to settle for ray tracing mode, which is just whenever you're looking at the car. It's not. There's no ray tracing in the actual gameplay, which is dumb.
Oh,
Part of why the game doesn't look very PS5.
interesting. All right. And then lastly, before we talk about a couple things we're watching, a Plague Tale TV series is in the works, which is pretty friggin' awesome. That game is
Yeah.
already very cinematic.
Oui.
and
I mean,
strong,
it should have
strong.
always been a TV show because the gameplay sucked. Am I right? It was boring.
Tell us how you feel.
I
You
always.
just, I don't want to hear
tell you
it.
guys how I
Actually,
feel.
don't tell us how you feel.
Literally don't get along. I don't get along with any of you guys. I always tell you how I feel.
But what I think is
Oh,
interesting is
okay,
there was
tell us how
one
you
of the assistant directors from Quentin Tarantino's Inglourious Bastards is involved in it, which is cool. So I think there's a lot to be.
I think he's either a showrunner or a director on the
Okay.
show because it sounds like it's like his studio or something. The way he I don't know. The verbiage in his tweet made it seem like he's super involved in the show.
Yeah,
And it's
But
going to be
it sounds
very
like
French. Very French.
this could be like markety where someone told him what to say, but you get the
Yeah.
vibe that maybe he actually played it and really liked the story and wanted to. You know what I mean? Like when he
Yeah.
talks about bringing Hugo's
I
story.
always
good-ass
wanted
story,
to finish
so-
that game. I really did, but I feel like it just drags on too much, and it's not my style game. I know some of you guys like it, but
You know, it's funny that you say that. Like
Gameplay-wise,
you're
terrible.
right. The gameplay is very much like a narrative adventure game style gameplay, where
Yeah.
there's not strong combat, of course, and all that stuff.
Mhm.
It's a narrative adventure game with some interesting sort of gameplay combat moments, but the aesthetics of it, the art design,
Yeah.
really strikes me as a FromSoft friendly. Like if you like FromSoft art design, you like
It's-
Plague Tale's
yeah,
art
It's
design.
that,
Oh,
it's
it
that
reminds me
gothic,
of like Dragon Age and stuff
Dragon
like
Age, sure.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
that gothic art style, which kind of
Yeah.
makes sense because it's from that era,
Right.
of the plague,
The-
where
yeah.
it's like
Exactly.
gothic artists were all the rage and shit, making all the castles and stuff. So
Yep.
Truly creepy at times. And so
Yeah.
anyway, we'll see how that goes. We'll see if that comes to fruition
Real
or just
life-
becomes one of those things that's talked about and never happens.
Real life rat tornadoes. That's what I demand in this show.
As far as stuff that we're watching, I did finally see the new Spider-Man movie, which is fantastic.
Ooh.
Really enjoyed
Yes.
it. I
Dude.
think just like every Marvel movie, it's one of those things where if you want to sit there and really poke holes in plots and motivations, you could.
Sure.
But dude, if you just watch that and just have fun with it and all the fan service and cool story momentum stuff they build kind of leading into other Marvel stuff, it's a lot of
couldn't-
fun.
Tim,
I struggle to poke holes in this one though. Like, I mean,
well, I think when you do like the multiverse stuff, you're always gonna get the
yeah, so, I mean,
jackasses
those
that are gonna
holes
be like,
always
well,
gonna be there.
No, I think
But-
it's
but,
possible. I think it's possible for all the like even for
I
Endgame,
had
which-
issues with it the first time I watched it. I actually liked it better the second time.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it again with my kids this week. We have spring
culmination.
break. We'll be watching it.
But I love the
But even
motivation
for
of-
Endgame though, like I feel like you could poke holes in it, but I don't really
Yeah.
care to because I just enjoy it so much. And
Well,
I
I don't know if it would be holes as much as like my major issue, and other people have said this too, so I'm not alone. But even if I was, I can handle it.
Sure.
Is the
We know.
whole plot is we didn't get into college, so let's just change the entire universe for us. Like, come on, that was so
Right.
weak, thin, and stupid. And there's
That's
no
the
way
Kids are
in this
stupid.
universe
They
dude,
address
that's
that.
Doctor
no, man, that's
Strange
the
would
motivation I'm talking about.
They address that. in the-
ever would
They
ever
address that. Thank you. They addressed that in the plot. Thank you very much.
No, they did not address.
Yes,
the
they
fact that
did.
Doctor Strange.
Dr. Strange called him out on it.
would do, but he still did it.
No.
He would never do.
Sometimes I forget.
Hey,
you're a
listen,
kid.
Don't get me wrong.
Literally,
this game
he
is
says, "Sometimes I forget you're a kid," because he's a kid making a dumb freaking call. That's why it's important in the plot.
fa-
It's important.
But listen, that this movie is excellent from start to finish. The performances are great. The visuals are great. I loved it. But to pretend like Doctor Strange making that decision to do what he did after everything that happened in Infinity War and Endgame, like, really, you're gonna do this because some kid comes to you with a sob story about
Yes.
him and his kid struggling?
No.
Yes.
Well, I
Doesn't-
think it
doesn't
It
make
makes
sense.
complete sense to me.
Well, no, I
When
think
you-
at
when
first
you-
he's.
But
when you
I
wrap
don't
up
think-
everything that Peter
let me
Parker
finish.
has been
Let me
through.
finish. Let me finish.
No.
I'm saying it doesn't make sense. It's not consistent with his character, in my opinion, but I'm okay with it because I like how the story unfolded and what happened and how it got out of hand and then how they had to solve it. I liked it, even if I look at it and go, I don't know if he would make that decision, but maybe
He would never do it. He would never do it.
So, but and then I let it go. It wasn't story breaking. It wasn't.
Well, can I just throw out there that so he mentions that it's like not like a tricky spell or a dangerous spell, doesn't he?
Yeah,
and
he said he's done it before. It's a forgetting spell. Yeah.
And he's doing it, and it's obviously if Peter
It's
wasn't
no
being
big deal.
if
Yeah.
Peter wasn't being a dumbass and kept interrupting him, then the
Right.
spell wouldn't have broke.
That's
So
the other part that felt so try hard. It just was all forced. It was so try hard.
I think you're confusing force with being a movie with a plot.
No.
Yeah, that's just
It was
called
really
a plot
fast.
with a conflict. Like that's
No, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm okay with that. But when you are stretching it that bad because you're like, we don't have anything else we can do, like, get out of here. You could have.
I mean, that's what they came up with, and it is what it is. I mean,
that's how I look at it.
A better
Sure, fine with
story because I'm going to hire James Faggerty to do it.
Oh, God's sakes! Why did? What? Where's Kyle?
Oh my God, dude!
Bring Kyle back. Can we bring some positive P in here?
All that.
Do you see why the cop literally said to me today? He's like, "You're really gonna go with that answer? Like you're gonna fight me on this?"
But this is one of those. This is one of those cases.
Your way out of that, huh?
This is one of those cases where and it happens in plenty of movies and shows that I adore, and games even with their stories. I absolutely adore. I don't like the decision they made here because I don't feel like how I've gotten to know the character that this works and fits. I just don't. And you can't convince me that, no, he would do that. And here's what I just don't think he would. That being said, I accepted right away. I was like, all right.
The second viewing, I accepted it. That's what you did.
Yeah.
Is it still a good movie? Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's great.
So I will say that my favorite aspect of the whole Tom Holland Spider-Man has been that he's a kid.
Mm-hmm.
They even cast him as a kid, but the way he acts is just he makes so many dumb decisions. But I think that's deliberate. I don't think he does it as much in Far From Home. That's probably why I don't like that movie as much. Well, he kind of does, but the whole plot is that's a plot that's a little dumb to me. The glasses thing, get the hell out of here. I hated that plot. But this one kind of made sense even from Doctor Strange's perspective because it was Doctor Strange who kind of planted this whole there's one possibility that saves us all and stops Thanos into into Tony Stark's head. And Tony Stark was Peter Parker's idol, his mentor, father figure in this universe. So like it makes sense that Doctor Strange is seeing that on top of compounded with Spider-Man having his identity outed.
But they didn't talk about that in the movie. Now, if they would,
they didn't.
It's part of his motivation.
Kind of have to bring that baggage with you and internalize it, maybe if you want to, I guess. But it's kind of like in his kid's been through enough.
The answer is no.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was more complicated.
Would not do it.
The reason, real quick, because I didn't mean to go on this, but this is actually interesting. The reason I don't think he would do it is because the spell you're talking about, like, I've done this before. It's erasing a memory and any trace of that memory from the entire world. And that's a big deal to mess with everyone's brains. Like, I don't think he would do it so lightly.
Exactly. He would have been playing it out for a while.
He did it that day. No. Peter showed up. They talked, had a little back and forth. Wong said, don't do it. Or, you know what? I'm out of here. And they're like, hey, let's go to the basement and do this thing. It just felt a little bit like little bit casual for such a big deal. But again, not big enough for me to say. Not because
maybe. Do you think maybe we should have gotten the reverse order of the release movies? Like we should have gotten Doctor Strange Multiverse first, and then Spider-Man maybe after.
Depends on how they do multiverse. We'll see.
I feel like maybe we need more time with Doctor Strange for everybody to kind of grasp his motivations and
maybe,
or
his expertise. If they would have laid it out a little more, if they would have laid out a little more, like you just described, like He's been through so much, and then if he feels some kind of guilt about Tony,
show his different personality in this next film, because they did that with we talked about it. Whoever the HBO show is off of that we've been watching, The Hero,
Peacemaker.
Oh, yeah. His personality and his character is completely different in the show. He's still him, but who he is and how you see him is completely different in the show than in the movie. In the movie, he's just kind of like this dumb, kind of funny jackass. In this one, he's like, oh, dude, this guy's broken.
Fleshed out.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah,
I get it.
He's got some trauma. These kids and these adults and their trauma, man. It's and they're superheroes. Suddenly they're superheroes because of it.
Save
it's great.
Trauma for your mama.
I think if they had framed it a little more like the Doctor Strange movie, where he gets in over his head and then has to fix it. If you think about that movie, that's kind of the storyline there, where he learns a lot too fast and kind of gets going too fast and kind of messes some stuff up and has to fix it. This didn't feel like that, and maybe that's the vibe that I was personally missing. It didn't. It felt
I do love that.
There was a little bit of that, but otherwise, I loved
after the spell goes awry and you start to see familiar villains pop up. I do love Peter Parker's motivation in this movie, where he's like, no, I mean, I have to help them. Like, and it's not just I have to stop them, because every previous superhero would have just been like, I have to stop them.
I mean, it's
naive. This is just a totally different motivation to me.
I did like that. And Doctor Strange was the cold-hearted, like, that's just their fate. Sorry, man. And he's like, no, I got to do something. So I did like that too.
I really admired that. But it does. Wholesome. This is where you can poke holes. Is like, so when Peter Parker kind of does get, if his plan works, let's pretend people haven't all seen it yet, even though they probably have. So if his plan works, what happens when they get sent back? Do they not? Do they not die anymore? That's where you can poke holes and like.
Were they mid-fight and then just died?
Yeah, and then they just like, is it still Green Goblin like getting iced by his own glider? Like, like.
Godspeed, Spider-Man.
Godspeed, Spider-Man.
Godspeed, Spider-Man.
But man, I really enjoyed it, and I see why.
Oh my god, so much fun, dude!
I see why people were calling for a return of a certain hero from the last series. I see why, because that was just really well done.
I agree. I agree.
So I would love that, but I don't think they ever would, of course. But
and I was having seen. Okay, so I saw No Way Home, and then Euphoria season 2 came out, and I saw that totally different range from Zendaya.
Yeah.
And then I watched No Way Home again, and then I was like, that's the girl from Euphoria who just had a went through a hard withdrawal, and like it's just crazy. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's just
we
a
just
totally
watched
different performance.
Homecoming, because we're watching through all the Spider-Mans. We're up to Homecoming now.
Yeah, she's amazing in that, by the way. She's way
great
better
in that
than any other one.
Tom Holland is great as the little kid in that.
Yeah.
That's a good one. And Michael Keaton, of course.
Batman
Michael Keaton's scene in the car is like tops villain moment in MCU.
Dude.
It's the best ones.
That is a great one. Peter has a really great hero moment, of course, when he sees his reflection in the water of his as he can't get out from underneath there.
The most Peter like Spider-Man moment in that movie is the rubble on him. And you can hear the panic in his voice when
he's a kid. He's 15 and he's like, someone help me. Like,
he's
scared.
But he's pushing himself up. Like he's trying to summon the Spidey strength within him to like push it. Yeah, gives me
great. It was and I even said it to the kids, like, that was the hero moment. Like, watch all these movies have that hero moment.
And I wish they managed to keep those right, because the guys that wrote that script or co-wrote it ended up working on Game Night and
I think not Far From Home.
Not Far From Home, not No Way Home. And you can tell in the humor, like it's just some of the humor and some of the character. I don't know. It just wish they were brought back from Far From Home, especially because that one just did not work as well for me.
I really, really enjoyed it. Highly recommend it to everybody if you like Marvel movies.
Yeah, it's on. You can just buy it basically. It's on Vudu or whatever now, right?
Yeah,
it's not on Disney Plus yet. But
so my son could watch it 17 times.
It's worth owning in my opinion. That's one I'll probably watch more than once this year.
All right. Well, I think. Oh, you know what? Let's just. If there's anything else you want to touch on that you're watching, I know we're kind of way over, but whatever. If you
let me give you an advanced screening heads up. I just watched The Lost City. I just came back from that right before we recorded.
The Sandra Bullock one?
Yeah, it's the Sandra Bullock adventure movie with friend of the show Channing Tatum is in it.
Yeah. Spoiler.
He's a lead.
He's in it. What?
And I just got to say that Channing Tatum is like becoming one of the more reliable comedic actors that's working today. And like his lines, his throwaway lines in this are some of the best, funniest moments in the movie. Like he's having like
Where
a
did
verbal,
that start for him? 21 Jump Street was his
I think
first
it's
big
21 Jump
comedy?
Street because before that he was just a dance guy in Step Up, you know, like in doing stupid romance
Magic
movies.
Mike.
Yeah, and Magic Mike. Yeah, so like I think it started in 21 Jump Street. And
Fun
you're like,
fact:
oh crap,
he
this
went
guy's
to
funny.
high school with my cousin. He's from Tampa, Florida.
Oh, nice.
Oh wow,
He
So
went
you guys
to
are best friends.
Oh yeah,
BFFs.
You should
went
you should
to
get him on the show.
Gaither High School, which is like a major high school in the Tampa
Whoa.
area.
Yeah.
He was a dancer.
Derek's last name is Tatum.
So there's like a funny moment, like in this movie, like totally lives on their chemistry, like Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum, and it's off the charts. They're so funny with each other. But there's like a moment where she's like, or he's telling her, "Here's our plan," and then boom, you get to have your cake and do whatever you want. And she goes, "Eat it too," and he goes, "Yeah, if that's what you want to do with it, whatever." Like it's there's so many little throwaway bullcrap moments like that just tickled me. The
I was
plot
gonna
is
say, did you just say tickle me?
Tickle.
That's
It
like
tickled
something
me.
a grandma would say. It just tickled me, Philly.
Look, man, at heart, I'm a grandpa. All right, so the story is just like a traditional blockbuster kind of bullcrap. It's like an Uncharted story where they're kind of looking for a treasure or whatever.
I've heard people compare it to Red Notice, where it's like charming and fun but lighthearted and don't take it too seriously.
I would say it's funnier than Red. I saw it in a full theater, and it's definitely funnier than Red Notice. I would say.
Oh, really? I thought
like,
Red Notice was pretty
consistently funnier.
Okay, cool.
And Daniel Radcliffe is the bad guy. Brad Pitt shows up for a bit. Brad Pitt shows up
in the trailer with Brad Pitt's
Harry Potter.
Yeah, so funny. I do love the line. She goes, "Why are you so handsome?" She goes, "Why are you so handsome?" I love that line.
Yeah, my father was a weatherman. He has
good.
He has the funniest moments with Channing Tatum because Channing Tatum, unlike his other movies of G.I. Joe, his action movies, he's not equipped to fight anybody in this movie. He is just a handsome dude who's a model, and that's it. That's it. So like he's kind of trailing Brad Pitt, fighting through people, and he's not really doing anything. He's just like, that guy's awake. It's so freaking funny. And then like Brad Pitt will take somebody down, and as the guy's falling, Channing Tatum will slap him or something, and Brad Pitt's like, that guy was already unconscious. What do you?
I didn't even know Brad Pitt was in this movie too.
He's in the trailers.
Dude, speaking of Brad Pitt, side note, what's a something train?
Yeah, Bullet Train.
Bullet Train.
Dude,
that movie looks amazing. Yeah,
that movie looks sick, dude.
Great
wacky,
cast, by the way.
Yeah.
Wacky.
I just wanted to give an early review on that because I think it comes out next week. So
that's Netflix, right?
No, it's on in theaters only.
I thought it was coming to Netflix.
I think it's a Paramount movie, so eventually it'll come to Paramount
Plus.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice. All right, we are running way longer than usual, so let's wrap it up. Thank you guys. This was a fun conversation. Appreciate it, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Big old.